That's after this.
Oh, it's after this. Okay.
I have Bob's making that announcement.
Okay, fine.
So I will say, just as everybody's coming in, if the students want to rename yourself to add your school, and if you'd like to add your preferred pronouns, you can certainly do that. Otherwise, when I call on you, I will, I'll ask you to tell us which school you're from and your grade as well. So as we're coming in, just be aware of that. Thank you so much.
Andrade Zuniga, yeah.
I've done it.
And you got Linda. Where's Linda? Oh, she may not be responding because she's away from her computer.
Just turn it on there.
Okay, I think we're, should I text Miss Lee Stuyer? And then Miss, you're ready, Miss Andrade Zuniga, thank you. She may have gone for a bio.
I'm here. Sorry. Do you need me to talk about the translation or?
I think we're good. We're just waiting for Miss Lee Stuyer to join us.
Thank you.
What's that?
Translator now.
Yeah. Mr. Griffin, did you get our, oh, no, here's Miss Lee Stuyer. Mr. Griffin, did you get our communication about the translator?
Yes.
Okay, great.
So are we ready to go?
We're ready to go.
Do we want a roll call? Or do we need
Not yet after this. This is,
Okay. Okay, I'm going to call the study session to order if there is such a thing. Good evening, welcome. We have our Spanish interpreter for the study session with students this evening, Mr. Montaldo. For those who would like to attend the study session in Spanish, that option is available. Mr. Montaldo, if you can please communicate that, then we will open the interpreter room. Thank you.
Muy buenas tardes. Estamos a punto de empezar nuestra reunión con los alumnos. Van a tener acceso a toda la información que se analice, se discuta en español en breves momentos. Muchas gracias.
Okay. I think we're good to go, Mr. Griffin.
Okay,
Would you like me to do an introduction here to this item, or?
please.
Okay, I'm going to turn this over shortly to Ms. Laura Chalkley, who's been organizing this activity. And we want to say a warm welcome to our students who are giving up their time here to help us know better what the district is, what the student voice is. This is a key factor. We want to hear from students. Student voice is a value, something the district values greatly. So Ms. Chalkley, I'm going to turn it over to you. And I think you got some words to say that shouldn't come as a surprise to students, but it's worth reviewing here.
I do. Thank you so much. And I just want to say how delightful it was to be involved in this project and have the opportunity to reach out to our principals and work with our students to bring them here tonight to you. We invited students from all of our schools, including Middle College, to join us tonight. And so to prepare for tonight's meeting, the students were given 2 prompts. So I'll read those prompts to you. They were asked to consider the following questions. So the first prompt was, what is going well at your school, and in what ways is your school operating effectively to meet the needs of all of your students? And is there anything that your school or our district can do to continue to support these areas? And then conversely, they were asked the second prompt, which is, what is not going well? Or what are areas where you feel improvement is needed? In what ways is your school not meeting the needs of all students? And do you have specific thoughts on how to make these improvements? Are there specific improvements you would suggest? So in other words, the students were asked to think in a solution-minded way when it comes to issues that they're seeing come up at their schools. So they were each asked to speak for about a minute. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to call on them alphabetically by school. And students, what I'm going to ask you to do is when I call on you, share your name, your school, and I think it would be great for the board to know your grade level. And then you can talk for about a minute about the prompts. So we'll go around in alphabetical order. And then at the end, the board members will have the opportunity to comment and ask questions and dialogue with you about what they've heard. So I'm going to ask Ms. Aquino for a little bit of help. I think we've got maybe 99%, if not everybody, in the room. I'm not sure, is Nicole Alvarez here? Because I'm going to go a little out of order because she asked to go first because she's got another commitment this evening. And I see Miss Lee Stuyer's hand is raised.
I have a question. Do they know who we are? Have we been identified so they know who we are? Just out of curiosity. I mean, they could probably, yeah, I was just curious.
Not in this setting. So that might be a good idea if we want to do a round robin among the board. So
I think they should just know who we are.
Yeah, Mr. Griffin, would you like to lead that kind of round robin from the board?
Yeah, I'll be as quick as I can. I'm Bob Griffin. I've been on the board 25 years. I'm a San Mateo High School Bearcat, but I'm also a district representative. I'm the board president.
I'll go next. I'm Peter Hanley. I've been on the board. I guess this is approaching my 20th year. I'm the board vice president this year.
Am I next? Okay. I'm Linda Lee Stuyer. I've been on the board. I was on the elementary board for Burlingame for 5 years and then came here because my children were going to high school. I have 5 graduates of the district, and I've had 3 exchange students, one from Germany, Brazil, and South Korea for a year who have gone to the district. And I had a foster daughter who was mine for all of her high school career, and she went to San Mateo. So I'm really glad to see you, and I really look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Do you want?
So my name is Greg Land. I've been on the board. This is my 2nd term. So I think I'm in my 6th or 7th year. I'm in education. I've been in education all my life. I've been a teacher. I've been a vice principal. I've been a principal, middle school, elementary. I've done a lot of professional development. So as Linda Lees had said, Dwyer, I was on the elementary board for 10 years. And then I moved up when my daughter, who now graduated from Burlingame High School, is now in college. So, and I decided to stick it out and keep working.
Hola, my name is Ligia. This is my first term. I was just recently elected in 2020. I recognize many faces on this Zoom call. Hello. I have 2 boys that went through the district. My younger son just graduated in 2020 also. Yeah, and I'm excited to talk with all of you. So thank you for joining us.
Okay, so thank you so much. As I was mentioning, I was trying to find one of our participants, Nicole Alvarez, and she does not appear to be here or in the audience. So if she joins us, we'll let her speak because she does have another commitment tonight. But since she's not here, we'll go ahead and we'll start with Lloyd Walter from Aragon. So Lloyd, take it away.
Hello, my name is Lloyd Walter, as you stated, and I'm a junior at Aragon High School. And one thing I believe that's going pretty well at our campus is access to like Chromebooks, Chromebook chargers, and masks. Because sometimes students either on the off chance they forget their Chromebook or forget their chargers or even forget their mask, because masks are sometimes hard to carry around all the time. They can either go to the library or go to one of their teachers to find masks and go to the library to find Chromebook and Chromebook chargers, which I believe is a very good thing. And I know some teachers have started running low on masks, so I think that to continue to support us, you should continue to provide teachers with masks for students. Now, on the flip side of that, sometimes because of the Wi-Fi in certain areas of the school, the Chromebooks don't load as fast. Like I've seen students taking up to 15 minutes just to get their Chromebooks to load up and like log into to start learning. So students who bring their own tech from home kind of have an advantage because they get to start learning before other students have even reached Google Docs or reached the assignment. So I think that one thing to help students out would be to improve the Wi-Fi just so that they can kind of access stuff quicker and be able to start their learning earlier.
Thank you so much, Lloyd. Okay, so next we'll go to Ashton Weir.
Hello, I'm Ashton Weir from Aragon High School. I am also a junior, and something that I like what I like Aragon doing is how they're like the teachers are taking into account not assuming people's pronouns and gender, and with like introductions at the beginning of the year, we were asked to make cards and stuff, and I would say just keep that up and maybe put a little bit more like options for like gender identities and stuff and pronouns. Another thing is I like how there's it's kind of easy to get in contact with wellness counselors and people that could be there to support you if you're having issues. But on the flip side, there are some issues with a forum for transgender students coming into Aragon. I've had personal experience with it where they didn't really take it into account, and I had to deal with my birth name and not preferred pronouns for 2 years. And then another issue is that we have non-binary bathrooms, but it's really difficult to tell if they actually are non-binary bathrooms unless you ask it. And the other non-binary bathrooms have codes, and there's like really nowhere to go to get the codes. So maybe just improve on that by making it more, like acknowledge it a little bit more, making it more accessible.
Thank you so much, Ashton. Okay, so next up, we have Zoe Steinberger from Burlingame.
Good evening, and thank you, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Skelly, and all attendees, especially the students here with me today. My name is Zoe Steinberger. I'm a senior at Burlingame High School. I have attended Burlingame for all 4 years of my high school career, and in those 4 years, I've seen an immense amount of change. In just the first 3 months of the 2021-2022 school year, the climate on campus has dramatically changed. Students are taking part in clubs, such as the Gender Sexuality Club, which has about 30 new members. Our seniors are finally getting involved in spirit days and branching out of their common cliques. Everyone is just generally happy to be back on campus, which is amazing. But this is not the time to sit down and pat ourselves on the back as the district often does. We need to take advantage of our stronger community and continue to work together to bring much needed change to all of our campuses. First of all, mask mandates need to be much stricter. I know many parents have come to the board and expressed their distaste for enforced COVID policies, but the parents are not at school on campus with us. They do not see how close our desks are, how crowded our quads are, or how many students remove their masks to eat and drink in class. Therefore, parents should not have a say in our school's response to COVID. As flu season inches closer and closer and students plan their Halloween parties and winter break plans, we must make sure that mask policies are being strictly enforced in and out of the classroom. Teachers are becoming more and more lenient with masks, and students are taking advantage of that. In tight classrooms with 30+ students sharing materials, one person with a mask below their nose could become a super spreader event. Secondly, I know I'm biased as a senior, but SMUHSD needs to be more sensitive when it comes to workload during college application season. Seniors are being forced to choose between schoolwork, college work, extracurriculars, and spending time with friends and family who we will soon be leaving. It's almost impossible to make that decision on top of college choices, midterms, and school and after school responsibilities. Yes, homework is important, but do I really need 3 projects I'll do on the last day to submit my early decision applications? I don't think so. Finally, I would like to stress the importance of activities like this, where students and administration can have honest conversations regarding issues on campus. We are able to talk back and forth, share ideas, and build off one another in progressive and healthy ways where students can be heard and administration can listen and take in what students are saying. Also, it's a great way to actually meet the board members. I think I'm one of the only students at BHS who can actually name all of the members on the board, and that needs to change. Our board needs to be connected to our students and show our campuses that they are willing to listen and be there for our students. Our campuses and students have so much to share with you. Please give us the space to do so. Thank you so much for listening and giving me the space to offer my opinion.
Thank you so much, Zoe. Okay, next we have Ellison Yoon.
Hi, everyone. I hope everyone's having a good night. My name's Ellison. I'm a senior at Burlingame High. Some things that are going well at our school. I totally agree with Zoe. There has definitely been a huge boost in connectivity and participation. I'm in leadership, so I see a lot of our things from a leadership perspective, but we have definitely seen an increase in student participation in our events. There were over 70 clubs at our school this year, many of them which are new, and just there's a lot of opportunities for students to participate in extracurriculars and engage with a diverse group of students outside of their academic circles. So I feel like this has been a really positive increase. In addition, there's been a huge support students for mental health over the past 4 years. It's been increasing. However, I think this is also one of our struggles. It's not all the way there. Our the accessibility towards academic counselors as well as wellness counselors hasn't been super great for students. A lot of the times the counselors are not in their offices, or especially around this time of season where early applications are due and just college applications are due in general. So having some more support for students when they need to go talk to both their wellness counselors and academic counselors would be really great. And another thing that we've started at BHS this year, which has been great, is the student equity team. However, I would also like to see some more a boost in that. It started earlier this year, however, it hasn't taken off too much, and I want to see this really take off for students who feel like they need it, especially minority students as well, and part of the LGBTQ groups as well and communities. A lot of students have been mentioning that they don't feel super included, and I feel like this is a great outlet for them to use to feel supported in this campus.
Thank you so much, Ellison. Okay, next we have Raymond Gonzalez.
Hello, my name is Raymond Gonzalez, and I'm a senior at Cappuccino High School. Starting off, let's go good. Starting off, some things that our school is doing well at is having our new mindfulness room that has just opened up this year, giving students the opportunity, if they're having stress loads, being able to go into our mindfulness room and take a quick break from class just to ease their mind just a little bit, because times are still kind of tough for these students going back to school. Having to retransition from being on Zoom to in person can be kind of a little shock over the past year. In addition, something our school does well at is also giving students the opportunity to speak out and voice their opinions for situations that go on in our school. So there's many opportunities for students to voice their opinion if need. Like, for example, our student site council. I was a member last year and there was not that many students, but now that we're back on campus, there are plenty of students wanting to run for the chair on our board, which was pretty awesome to see the transition. One thing, or two things that are kind of shaky is the Wi-Fi at our school has been pretty bad lately due to the weather conditions, but they're slowly getting better. But on occasion, our Wi-Fi will be buffering for a long time when many students are trying to access a certain page. And also our mask mandates are getting a little lenient with teachers. Lots of students are taking advantage like Ms. Zoe said, taking advantage or students are taking advantage of having their mask below the nose, and how compacted our classrooms are. I'm in a math class with amongst like 29, 30, and our chairs are just so close together that it gets a little claustrophobic in there. And then some teachers also keeps the door shut when I don't think that's safe because it's very cluttered in there. But other than that, yes, thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Raymond. Okay, next we have Hayat.
Hi, my name is Hayat Al-Zagul. I'm a junior at Cappuccino High School. Something that CAP does well is we have really great community, strong relationships between students, teachers, and staff. I've noticed, especially just in recent years, the classroom environment has become much more engaging and interactive for students. I think the engaging interactive conditions for learning have helped students feel more connected and supported at CAP. And especially since we got back from the pandemic, teachers are usually pretty understanding and generous towards students who are either struggling or taking honors or IB courses. They're usually pretty flexible with due dates and workload. On the other hand, there's a lot of hate speech at CAP towards Black, Hispanic, Asian, and the LGBTQ plus community. Hate speech occurs both in classrooms and all around campus. I feel like it's never properly addressed by staff and therefore is integrated into the CAP culture. Students are less likely to participate or willing to participate in clubs, sports, and other extracurriculars due to this. I think some solutions could be class discussions regarding racism and just sexual assault and other sorts of issues. Class discussions or statements from admin, I think, could be really beneficial. I think students will feel much more welcome and willing to learn. Once the social environment is made more safe towards victims of hate speech. And then one other thing, at Cappuccino, one of the only times we really get together as a community is at football games. I think planning more large public setting events could offer students exposure to one another as well as different opportunities on campus. Overall, I think more school-wide events can be beneficial to like the social development of CAP students. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hayat. Okay, next we have Kaya Kumar.
Hi, my name is Kaya Kumar. I'm a junior at Hillsdale. So one of the things that's going really well, I think this has been a theme throughout the schools, but there's been a lot more student involvement this year, especially in things outside of academic circles, and that's
I'm
really
sorry, Kaya, it's really hard to hear you. Could you speak up just a little bit more? I really want to hear what you have to say. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So I was saying that there's been a lot more involvement outside of academic circles in things like clubs and a lot more participation, which is really great because I've met a lot of very cool people that way. And then on the other side, I think these are a few things that are not going so great at our school. The first and probably most important thing at our school is that our bathrooms have been closed for like months because of, I think it was a TikTok challenge. But I think didn't even happen at our school, but our students lost bathroom access for months because of it. And this provides a lot of health hazards. I myself suffer from constant headaches because I can't drink enough water during the day, which is especially hard with a mask, but you make it even harder when the bathrooms are closed. I know people that have actually passed out because they're dehydrated. The only bathroom that's been open during lunches is one that's about a block away from any of my classes, and I know several students that suffer the same thing. Another thing is a lack of consistent Wi-Fi. Our school has like 5 different networks and none of them work. If we could just get like one network that worked consistently, that would improve learning a lot for our students, especially now that a lot of our work is online on Chromebooks. Yeah, I think those are the 2 main things that need to be addressed at our school. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kaya. I still do not see Nicole Alvarez. We'll do another sweep for her. But in the meantime, I'm going to call on Liam. So go ahead, Liam.
My name is Liam Glass-Hussein, and I am a 10th grader at Mills High School. Some things I think our school is doing really well is free lunches. Those have been really good for all students. And yeah, I think it does a really great job at addressing inequity. And also, like, if someone just doesn't bring a lunch one day, it's very nice for them too. Also, access to Chromebooks and Wi-Fi hotspots during the pandemic was really great. And access to Chromebooks still being, like, especially now that all of our work is online, being able to check out a Chromebook from the library is very nice and very useful. As many have said before, though, the Wi-Fi is not very great at school, and it's different in a lot of different places in the school, as well as students who bring their own computers have a very distinct advantage because a lot of the school computers take a long time to load on the Wi-Fi. Also, more strict COVID practices, like most people wear their masks, but a lot of people wear them below their noses, and I'm sorry, yes, and yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Liam. Okay, now we're going to move to Calista.
Hi, I'm Calista, and I'm a freshman at Mills High. I can definitely say that the community at school makes it like 10 times better. It's pretty easy to make friends if that's more like an important part of your life. And I feel like people can really express themselves. Like teachers, like in the beginning of school, asked for preferred pronouns and your preferred like nickname or just name in general. And then asked if it was okay to refer you to that at home, like if they're calling your parents or guardians. I feel like that can make students feel really comfortable and really safe. And maybe even like be able to open up more, and maybe like just feel as though they can go to that teacher for help if they needed to. I don't think there's anything that's not going like not well, but again, like the bathrooms are locked after school, like right after school ends because of that, I guess, challenge that happened on the internet where people were taking things out of the bathrooms. And then there's also people who like vape in the bathrooms, which I guess is a very common thing, but it's not right. And I don't think locking the bathrooms was mandatory or like necessary at all, because there's people who need to use it like for emergencies and stuff like that. But I guess like the bathrooms in the office are open if they really need it. But yeah, and then I've seen some teachers who judge some students for being slow or not, they don't like meet the standards, which is not right at all. I feel like that could really lower the rate of them being able to succeed or pass a certain class, because they feel like they've been put in that mindset where they feel like they're like dumb. I feel like that really needs to be changed. But yeah, I feel like that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Calista. Next up is Franco. Franco, do you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and you can speak?
Yeah, excuse me. Can you give me a sec? Sorry.
Would you like me to come back to you? We can go to the next person and come back.
Yeah, sure, please. Thank you.
Okay. All right, sure thing. Okay, so next we have Carolina.
Hi, I'm Carolina Sandoval. I'm a senior at Peninsula High School, and everything that I think that's good about Peninsula is that we really have a good support system. All the teachers have one-on-one check-ins with us, which I find it really useful. We have guided studies, which helps us get back on track with our work and fix any missing assignments that we have, or just get back on track, which is really supportive for us. They're really respectful, and I feel like every teacher can build a relationship with students there. They're very sweet, and the only problem that I have in mind is that we have a very small space. We only have the cafeteria for an inside space, so if it's a rainy day, we have to be in there, and not a lot of kids fit in there. Also, our computers are really slow, and so is the internet. So it'll take about like a couple of minutes for us to be able to get on. And log in. So it'll take like 10 minutes. And yeah, that's about it.
Thank you so much, Carolina. Okay, Franco, are you ready? Do you want us to come back to you?
Yeah, actually, so my name is Franco, and I'm also a senior at Peninsula High School. And yeah, sorry. Pretty much like we don't have a lot of problems at Peninsula, and like Carolina said, our support system is like really great, and we have one-on-one check-ins with our guided studies teacher with like at least once or twice a week, which really helps a lot of students. And like Carolina said, our main problem or like issue at Peninsula is that our Chromebooks are like really slow, and the Wi-Fi is like kind of causes like even students that brings their own computer, which are faster, the Wi-Fi are still like one of the main reasons why they're like slow a little bit. And like Carolina said, really is just the space, and we have a really small school, so it kind of gets crowded. And yeah, it's pretty much it.
Thank you so much, Franco. Okay, next we're going to call on Neve. I think I saw Neve earlier. Okay, let's go to Mayank and we'll come back to Neve.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Mayank, and I'm a senior at San Mateo High School, and I'm really grateful for having the opportunity to speak to you all today. So I'd say something that's really good at San Mateo right now is the support staff and all the access to academic and wellness counselors. That's really good because students can go to trusted adults on campus with any problems they have, whether that be academic, social, about their personal life. But one thing I think that could be a little improved in that way is maybe the wellness counselors introducing themselves and maybe being more visible to the SMHS students, because I know very few of the people I know and students in my grade, they don't know who many of the wellness counselors are, and therefore might not be as comfortable going to them to talk about whatever problems they might have. And another thing that is also going really well at San Mateo is the access to free lunch. And I think now that everyone has access to free lunch, no kid is going to go hungry at school. But one caveat to that is that when students have to go and get lunch, they have to take some type of healthy food, I guess you could say. So during brunch, it's usually banana or an apple, along with whatever like pastry or bagel they get. And the problem with that is that many students, they just won't eat any of their healthy fruits or vegetables, and they end up throwing that away. And the trash cans are filled with all bananas, apples, carrots at lunch. And I think that's not good use of food. And instead, I think it's important to promote healthy eating for students. But if you're going to force the students to take the healthy food that they are not going to eat anyway, it's just a waste of food. And we should maybe focus more on education about nutrition rather than just giving them food that they're going to throw away. And then lastly, every student has access to a Chromebook. And some of our teachers have said that you have to bring your Chromebook to class so everyone is on the same playing field. And it also has lockdown browsers, so in-class tests are secure. but not many teachers enforce that, and many kids end up bringing their own personal computers to school, which gives them an unfair advantage, and many students are able to cheat on exams and such. And then lastly, the bathroom situation. I know there was lots of vandalism and graffiti earlier, and the school ended up closing most of the bathrooms except the ones around the district office. Even though it may be good to prevent more damage to school property, I feel like it really harms people who genuinely need to go use the restroom multiple times a day, especially if they're drinking a lot of water like I do. And I think there should be a better way to prevent that type of vandalism while still giving students access to the facilities they need. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Mayank. Okay, we're going to go back to Neve.
Hi, sorry, I was having a computer problem and it was all messed up. So hi, my name's Neve. I'm a freshman at San Mateo High and I'm currently new to San Mateo District and I am excited. But at the same time, it's kind of hard. So things that are really good at the school, I would say that like how my uncle was saying with like the food choices and stuff, they do how it's free now. My mom was very surprised and I was also surprised because at my last school, you had to pay for certain things to get it. And also I think that the Yonders, now that I actually understand what the Yonder pouches are for, I think those are actually great sources to put your phones inside of the Yonders, even though kids think that it's annoying. And directed studies, that's a class that I learned that you do to do extra work and stuff. And a lot of kids don't really like it because they usually don't have a lot of work to do. So I feel like if a teacher like prescribes a student and says, hey, maybe you should take directed studies and tell somebody like contacts their parents and talks to the school saying like, oh, this student needs directed studies so they can catch up on their work and do all these things because they're seeing like they're not doing it at home. I feel like they should start doing it and going to directed studies instead of those people having to go and they don't have to do extra work. And for me, also with the food thing and wasting food, I noticed that there has been a lot of food being thrown on the floor and we've had a lot of problems when a lot of janitors had to come and clean up all the foods because all the fruits and vegetables and stuff, like a lot of carrots have been thrown all over the floor and then I have been in the garbage and I feel like they should make a bucket. Maybe like say you don't want those fruits or items and stuff, you should put it inside the bucket and then you put those resources away. When it goes bad, you end up throwing it away. But some students do eat them and some students don't. And I feel like the people that don't eat them should put them inside of a bucket, like a bin or something that they keep on side of it. So you can just put it inside of there without throwing them away and wasting all that food. And also I feel like I talked to a lot of students and they said the schedules are kind of mixed up and jumbled up and it's messing with their day-to-day schedule that they already have. Staying like at school till 3:40 on odd days, which is Wednesday and Friday, and then staying at 2:55 from Tuesday and Thursday. And that is messing up with their schedule. And I feel like we should fix that. That's it.
Thank you so much, Neve. Okay, next we have Sari.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Airia Hamel, and it is a pleasure to be here. Something that is going well in middle college right now. By the way, I'm a middle college student. I'm a junior, and my home school is San Mateo High. So continuing with my answer, something that is going well now in middle college is the way in which we are connecting with each other. The way in which we work together and support each other really emphasizes our themes of balance, community, and agility. As well, something that is going very well is that our advisors in middle college are doing one-on-one meetings to keep in touch with their students and make sure that they're doing well in their college classes and as well in their personal life. Also, another really good thing is that our teachers do really think about that we are taking college classes and that sometimes we do need time to prepare and make sure we're doing our homework from college. On the other side, there's a big problem with food. I know that our homeschools are getting free lunch and all of the students are getting it. But in middle college, there are some students who do not receive free lunch. And in college, it is a little bit expensive to be buying food every single day. So I think that it is a really serious problem. And even though we are able to grab our lunch from our homeschools, some of us have to take the bus or another transportation, and we take classes like really in the morning, like 8 a.m. And it is like really hard for us to get food. So maybe that's something you could consider about it. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sari. Okay, so we have Esmeralda, and then there are two students who I don't believe are on the call, but I'm just going to ask Ms. Aquino to do one more sweep for Ruby Estrada and Nicole Alvarez. But if you can do that for me, Ms. Aquino, and then Esmeralda, please take it away. Thank you.
Hi, I just wanted to real quick before I start. Ruby is actually with me, so if you want, she can also speak as well. If that's
That'd be
okay.
great. That's perfect.
Okay, so I feel like something that's, I go to middle college, I'm a junior, but something that's going really well is the variety of different class schedules and time periods that we get to choose for like cohorts. Like for example, I chose cohort C because I thought that that was the best choice for me, and it gives me the ability to take my college classes in the morning. And it also gives me the ability to be on time for work and not have to stress about whether if I have homework for my professors or for my high school teachers after I work. And it gives me like, I can sleep early knowing that I have time at school to do my homework and any school work because of the choices. So I feel like just that the teachers trusted us to make our own choices on whether we want to have what type of time periods we choose our classes in. That really helps because we are treated like adults, and that's something that's really important because it kind of, respect for me is a big thing, and respect in middle college, it's really shown because they trust us, and you can really see that they trust us. Another thing that's going really well is one-on-one meetings. So those are kind of like with my advisor, I can talk to him about anything. And not only do I have my advisor, but I also have the wellness counselor who's also there to kind of support us. So we have a really big support system that can help us like better in our education, and just that we have a lot of time to kind of get ahead of stuff so we don't stress.
Okay. I'm Ruby Stratton, and I'm also a junior at middle college. And currently, one thing that's going really well is like all the space and time that we're being given. It's just like all the teachers and the advisors, they understand like that we have college classes and that we also have like other responsibilities outside of school, and they like give us the time and they understand, and they like, you go up to them and you tell them one like little problem you have and they'll try to like fix it in like seconds. They're like amazing. And also the support that not only our teachers and advisors give us, but the counselors and the wellness office, they're really amazing with how they're supporting us and like allowing us to grow in like a different environment than what we're used to.
So something that can be done better is maybe awareness on college life, because starting next semester, which is pretty soon, more college students are going to be coming into their campus, and we have been there since for like the beginning of the year. So we don't really know like what it's like when college campus is full of like college students. It's more like there is college students right now, but there's not as much as there is on a college campus. So I feel like maybe a little bit more awareness on what college life is or is like when all the students are there would be really helpful, especially because there has been a lot of like kind of problems recently in the news where like something bad happens at a college campus. So I think it's really good to like let us know how we can be safe about it, and a little bit more like, just like I said, awareness on how we can avoid certain situations, how to tell if something is good or bad, because we are high school students taking college classes at a college campus. So it's really hard to kind of like, oh, just put us out there without any awareness.
I agree with Esme. I think the only issue right now is like what's coming next semester when it's going to be full of like college kids, and we're like minors, so we obviously have to be careful. And just like, I think we need to have like somebody or like something to like where we can go to if anything happens, and they'll like immediately listen to us. Like something like that would be really great. And like how she said, like just like preparing us for what like an actual college campus would be like, filled with students.
Thank you.
Thanks to all of you. That was great. I just really appreciated hearing your insightful words and thoughts, and just really impactful. So what I'd like to do now is turn it back to the board so that they can share their comments and questions, and you can dialogue on areas that you need to explore further. So Mr. Griffin, how would you like to proceed?
Thank you, and I want to thank all the participants for their thoughtful comments. We're probably going to have to, I don't know that I see all the trustees on one page, so you can either try your real hand, or you can try raising your hand. I'm looking at the box on the side. So, okay, as soon as I see it, everybody's hand is up. So I'm going left to right. Trustee Andrade's my left to right, Trustee Andrade Zuniga, then Trustee Hanley, then Trustee Land on the first row.
Thank you. Thank you so much, students. I'm really blown away by a lot of your suggestions, and just by your observance of like the school year so far, and being pretty candid about what you're feeling. Thank you for trusting us with your suggestions and your concerns. I guess my question is, in terms of the meetings and engaging more of you to participate in the meetings and just be interested in the meetings, so I know they can be a little dry. What are some suggestions that you can give us on how to engage more of you and have you participate? Not everybody at once. Too many.
Could you clarify, do you mean this specific type of meeting or like district board meetings?
I guess both. Mm-hmm.
Well, I know for the district board meetings, it was kind of daunting when I first started like listening and then participating in them, because a lot of the terminology and the structure of the board meetings is foreign to us as students. We don't really know the process of even just how to make a public comment all of the time, and when to speak, and just the kinds of things we should say. A lot of that is a lot of those kinds of instructions and details are not as accessible to us as I think it could be. Just making it easier, even like some sort of uploading a video somewhere on the district website where just that goes like all through the process, how to do everything, how to understand the terminology. That would be really helpful to me, just to like, if I ever want to make a public comment or anything like that.
I think also if you guys sent out like a sort of newsletter to the students, just explaining what was discussed, it's a lot briefer and just like in student-friendly language, and I think we'd all be able to follow along a lot better.
Yeah, I agree with that. And another thing is that these board meetings, I feel like there's sort of a notion that these are mainly meant for parents, and maybe opening it up to students as well by saying, this is not just for your parents. You should attend this meeting so you can figure out what's going on at the district level, and maybe more publicity within the schools to say like, join the meeting, figure out what's going on, and participate so you can share whatever it is you want to share with the people who run the district.
Sorry. I 100% agree with what Mr. Patil just said. I think that students just don't know that this is happening. I know, Miss Zuniga, you post on your Instagram, like, reminder, there's a meeting tonight, and that's so helpful for me. And I said that to my friends, and I said, look, like, there's a meeting happening tonight. And they're like, oh, cool, like, let us know what happens. Maybe I'll stop in if I have time. And just actually being reminded there's a meeting, because students just don't know that these happen. So we actually inform the students, like leadership, they do weekly announcements. So just like for leadership to say like, also there's a meeting tomorrow night, like come in, come watch, come say something if you want, come make a public comment, something like that. I think that would be really helpful, and I think more students would definitely get involved that way.
Bay, you have your hand up. You want to make a comment?
Sorry.
No, thank you.
I also agree with what they're saying. And I feel like I know a lot of my friends and a lot of students and peers that are in my school that would like to indulge in this, but like for like student language, they do think like this is for like parents and stuff, and they feel like, oh, I shouldn't really be doing this because this is for parents. And I feel like if you guys use more of the student language and make it seem more student friendly, it would be more indulging and make it feel like, oh, everybody's welcome.
Aya, you have your hand up.
Yeah, so I think I personally didn't know that I could come to these until I got selected by, I think, one of my teachers. And then also knowing that the board would be receptive to our suggestions would be great. And I think it would get a lot more people involved.
Was it Sayri?
Yeah. My primary language is Spanish, and I am a like really close friend to lots of students from SMHS who speak Spanish, and they do have like really good suggestions about it, but they don't really know how to speak English. So they're scared of like not participating in this thing because they don't know how to communicate it to the people. So maybe it could be like really good if we kind of like show them that it is okay for them to say it in Spanish and maybe just kind of like translate it into English, because they do have like really good ideas on how to change the school sometimes. So I think that's something we can consider about it.
Raymond.
Oh, I just wanted to add or kind of ask the question, will these boards ever or these meetings ever be in person? Because I know personally, I'm kind of over Zoom, and when I heard that it was a Zoom, I was like, oh, okay. So I kind of personally like being there and being present.
I'm with Raymond, just so you know. I'm with Raymond.
Yes. Boy, now let me see. There was, okay, the screen moved. I see Zoe had her hand up, but there was Ashton first. Ashton.
Yeah, someone brought this up earlier with like not knowing that these meetings were going on and that students could attend them. I didn't know that either. Until now, I didn't know that students can watch and like basically anyone can watch these. And I really think it would be a good idea for the schools and stuff to inform students that, hey, you can watch the school board meetings and see what's going on, because it's always good to even have the students informed, because students are attending the school, and it's a really good idea to try and make sure students know that they can see what's going on in these meetings and what's being decided and stuff.
Zoe.
Hi, I know I already spoke, but I have one other thing to say. I've been going to the board meetings since sophomore year, and they can be boring at sometimes, but I don't think a lot of the students know that what the board is talking about is 100% affecting them. I think a lot of the students, if they do know that there's a board meeting, they think that the board is just talking about faraway things, money issues, where money is being put, and it's not really affecting students, affecting our curriculum, affecting what we're doing day to day. And so if the students actually knew that, we're talking about what's happening on campus, we're talking about how this is going to change their high school career, then I think many more students would attend, many more students would become involved in this and share their opinion with you.
Okay, I don't see any other fresh hands, so Trustee Hanley, then Trustee Land.
Thanks. Yeah, this has been great.
Yes.
I've come away with several things that I want to follow up on, and I'll just give you a couple of perspectives that I want to try to get some feedback on and see if we can make some improvements. The Wi-Fi, I'm glad to hear that you're bringing that to our attention, because over recent years, we've actually put a lot of money and a lot of effort into upgrading the Wi-Fi across the district. And it sounds like we need to pay more attention to the Wi-Fi. And that could be simply because there's a lot of increased use of it. And that puts a lot of extra strain on it. But it sounds like from what I heard tonight, we need to go back and take another look at it and see if there's some things that we can do to increase capacity and flow in it, because we have added a lot of extra computers, a lot of extra demand on it. So that's one thing that I'm glad you brought to our attention. I'd like to follow up on that. I'd like to also see if we can come up with a better bathroom policy. It sounds like that could be better. I think I'm just wondering if we overreacted a bit. There's certainly some reasons to be concerned about what was happening in the bathrooms and so forth, but I think I'd like to see if we can take another look at that and see if it can be modified to some extent. And the third area, which I've, for those of you who have been at board meetings recently, we've had a number of concerns about vaccination policies and masks and that sort of thing. And one of my concerns has been that we need to do more in this area. We need to increase the safety in the schools. I mean, we're doing a lot to make the schools as safe as possible, but I think we need to do more. And I think a number of your comments that it's hard to wear masks, and it's they get lax after a time, and I think that's another reason to really encourage more people and to be vaccinated. I think vaccinations are the way out of this pandemic. The only way we're ever going to get rid of masks in school is to have everybody vaccinated in school. And I think we need to move in that direction. We need to move in that direction as soon as we can. But I was very interested in a number of comments about how masks are being used. So I really appreciate all of you coming tonight and sharing your thoughts. I thought the comments were very good, and you put a lot of thought into them. So thank you.
Hey, you have a response or a question, or is that an old hand you got up?
Sorry about that. So with the whole vaccination thing, I heard you were talking about that. And oh yeah, Mr. Hanley, I heard you were talking about that. And I understand how you want more people to have the vaccination, and it would be better if everybody would have the vaccination, and it would be better with the mask situation stuff. But at the same time, with vaccinations, I feel that a lot of people dealing with the vaccination right now is kind of hard, because some people's religion don't really allow vaccinations because they believe in a higher source doing all that stuff and so on. And also people's opinions on it because people have still been getting COVID even though they had the vaccination because people feel like, oh, I shouldn't wear a mask because I'm vaccinated. So I feel like at the same time, even though you have the vaccinations and all that good stuff, I feel like some people don't really want it because it could affect their bloodstream or how they feel and how they would feel on the daily. That's it.
Zoe.
Just on the topic of COVID, I am very, very thankful that I think all the schools are offering COVID testing. That's amazing. It's great. I love to see it. But I've also heard that I know BHS at least, they only allow a student or I think just students to get tested like every 90 days, which seems very funny to me, I guess. Like you can't get COVID within 90 days of getting tested. It seems unsafe if a student wants to get tested and their only option to get tested is at their school. Maybe they don't have time to go somewhere after school. They can't get tested if they got tested 50 days ago. It seems very ridiculous to me. So if we could give more testing options and allowing students to get tested more often, then that would be even more amazing than it already is. Thank you.
Ms. Chalkley, apparently you want to jump in with both feet.
I do. I just want to say that we do offer free weekly testing at all of the school sites, and there's no limitation in terms of how often you can do that. So any student can test weekly if they would like to, and it is free and available at all sites.
And let
That's
me
great.
see.
Thank you.
So Trustee Land and then Trustees Lee Stuyer.
Okay, well, first of all, I want to thank all of you. What an amazing group of students to hear from. So I've been very impressed with everybody's presentation tonight and very happy to hear this. I think this is a start of something. I'm really glad, Ms. Chalkley, thank you for organizing and getting this going. I think this is the first of many to come. I think we should have this on a regular basis. This was very informative for me. It was very reassuring. I just want to say that I hate going behind Mr. Hanley because he's going to compliment on, say a bunch of the stuff that I want to say, but I'm going to reiterate, I hear the situation with the bathrooms. As a school administrator, I know the difficulties of wanting to try to keep things safe, but also it's important to keep things accessible. So I think there has to be a better system in place, and I think we've heard it very clearly tonight from the students, and thank you for sharing. Masks. I do believe that this is, things are getting easier and easier to not enforce because of the length of time, but I think it's important to remind everyone that it is important and it is what's keeping our numbers down in our county and in our area. So I think mask wearing is important and enforcement is going to be important as well. So I'm glad you guys brought that up as well. The third one, one of the ones that wasn't touched on that I really wanted to hear was about informing about mental health counseling and what's out there. I think it was Mayank or someone else who was bringing up the fact that, kids don't know that they're available and how they're available and make them more available. I heard also counselors, academic counselors and counselors not being readily available is a problem. And I think it's something that we need to discuss at the district level and at the administrative level. I think we can do better with the communication to find out. And ironically, when we first talked about the wellness counselors, that was something that we talked about and mentioning how can we get this information out to students so that it is readily available and the kids feel comfortable to go talk to the counselors. I did want to talk about, it's interesting about the homework and timing of homework. We did have a homework workshop about this, and Zoe, you brought something up about college applications and when. I think we do need to be sensitive to some degree. I know I've been a teacher, educator all my life. I understand the importance of hard work and getting things in on time, but I also understand other deadlines like what Zoe you're talking about, and we have to be cognizant of that. And I think our homework committee had brought up different alternatives and how things were getting streamlined when we had a report back by Dr. Black and his committee. And I think they came up with some good suggestions, but this is Zoe brings up another one that we need to bring up and can be concerned with. So I want to thank you for that. I just think, one of the things that we have to do better job of is communication as a board, and that involves the district as well. I think one of our jobs is to let the students know what's on the agenda, whether it's an announcement in the school announcements, or if you have TV programs or television programs to get it out. I think it's just, hey, we're having a board meeting and we're going to talk about dress code, or we're going to talk about, electives and ethnic studies. We're going to talk about the LGBTQ flags or what's coming up. I think it's important that we get that out so we hear from students around the district. So anyway, I think this is a great start. I think there's more to come. Thank you.
So Raymond, you have a comment.
Oh, just to add on to Mr. Land, I'm kind of add on to what I think our school does well with wellness, kind of a tongue twister, but every Thursday we have like Wellness Thursday during announcements, and it's like a Zoom call during fourth period. And I think that's really, really effective by letting our students know that wellness is a thing at our school, and how I'm not so sure if other schools have like the wellness room that's available during periods. So I just think like our Wellness Thursday, it's like a Zoom call that they show on the TV in our fourth period, is very effective.
And Ellison, is it Ellison or Ellisine?
It's Ellison, thank you. I also wanted to add on to Mr. Land's comment. The accessibility to wellness counselors has definitely improved since distance learning. I remember from distance learning that it was really hard to make an appointment with a wellness counselor that wasn't during your scheduled classes, and it was hard to miss your classes. But now the wellness counselors have been more available. The one thing I will note is with academic counselors, it's very difficult to reach them. And in addition to just like reaching our teachers is difficult. I think it's because of the new schedule. Before COVID hit, I remember we would have a late start on, I think it was Wednesdays, and an early release as well. And then almost all classes would end by like 3 o'clock, I think, on other days. It was a lot easier to make up work with teachers before school or after school, in addition to the flex times that we were provided. Now we end almost every day, end almost every day closer to 3:30 or 4. If you have a seventh period, and most of the teachers very understandably want to go home at the end of the day, so do students. So making up work after school is very difficult. In addition, the beginning of classes start at 8:30 now, which makes it difficult to make up work before school. So the only options we have are at flex time, and maybe if the teacher is nice and willing to give up their own lunch during our lunch times, which makes it hard for us to eat. So I think, even though I don't really hate the new schedule academic wise, in just class time, I think I do get tired at the end of the day, but I think that will happen with any schedule. I think the new schedule makes it very difficult for students to make up work, especially since we're very careful of missing or coming to school if we feel even a little bit sick. So a lot of students will take their time off if they feel even the slightest bit sick, which means that we have to make up even more work than usual. So I think making a system where students can either go to and not just making up work, just going to teachers for extra assistance would be really helpful.
Okay, I'm gonna call on Neve, and then Esmeralda and her sidekick also have their hand up. It's difficult to see brown hands in a brown background. So anyway, Neve.
Hi, so I just remember when Mr. Land, I'm pretty sure, was talking about dress code. And this was one of the big things like the girls were talking about. And one of the new dress code policies are no torso are to be shown. So no crop tops or anything like that. And a lot of the girls have been complaining to me about that, like how they think that should change, because they say that there's no problem because their torso are showing and it's not affecting anybody. And they say they don't know why their torso can't be shown because they say it's not affecting anybody. And also with I forgot what it was called. But yeah, there was something else, and if I remember, I will bring it back up.
So Esmeralda, is it you that want to speak? And I was writing down names, but I was taking notes, so I don't know your sidekicks. your partner's name there. So who wants to speak, or both of you?
I'm Ruby Estrada, but Esma is the one that wants to speak.
Yes. Okay, before I forget my train of thought, I wanted to connect a little bit to Neve's point about dress codes, because there was a recent situation where I went to Aragon to kind of get our picture taken with a few of my friends for our ID. And since there is no really dress code at middle college, which is something really great because we're able to express ourselves, we were able to go like however we want to dress to Aragon, and we didn't really have a sweater to kind of cover us up because we had forgotten about the dress code. But when we asked for visitors pass at the office, there was the lady at the front desk was really nice about it. She's like, oh, just make sure to cover up a little bit, you know. But then there was another lady who came up behind us and kind of said it in a little bit more of a ruder way, where it made me feel really uncomfortable. And I'm sure it made my other friends feel uncomfortable too, because Ruby was part of it. And I just like didn't even want to be there no more. I kind of just wanted to leave. I kind of just wanted to leave because I felt very uncomfortable that she would have talked to us the way that she did. If she would have came to us and told us like maybe in a nicer way, like the front lady was doing before she was interrupted by her, then I would have been like, oh, okay, like, I'm so sorry. Like, I don't have a sweater. But I had come from middle college. She didn't even give me the opportunity to speak. And instead she was like, do what you need to do and then get out of here. And so I was like, I felt really uncomfortable in the position that I was in, and along with Ruby. So I didn't even want to get my picture taken no more. But yeah, that's one of the things that I kind of experienced with Ruby and another friend of ours. And then another thing that I wanted to kind of communicate on was the wellness kind of counselor things, because I think it's really great at middle college. I've been there once to get a little bit more help, but then there was like, I think it's most important that before the counselor starts like getting on you about, oh, what's wrong? Like, what's going on, like this and that, like building a relationship with the student really helps communicate with them, like not just telling them, okay, so your last school told me that you visited them and like you're having some like issues or something, like talk about it with me. Like you can't just like do that, you know, it takes time to build trust. So I think that's something that's really important.
Hi, I just wanted to say, like Esmeralda was just saying about wellness counselors, I feel like a lot of students don't know their wellness counselors either. I think it would be really helpful if they were to reach out to students personally, just that over the course of time, you kind of feel comfortable enough to go and talk to them if there were ever an issue. I think that apart from not knowing who our wellness counselors are, we're usually assigned to a wellness counselor by like our last names at Cappuccino. So I think really just having a personal relationship and just having like them reach out to you before we're too deep into the year, I think that would be really helpful to students.
Hey.
Okay. Yes, I just remember what I was going to say. So mainly, I just feel like when Hayat was talking about right now with the counselors, I feel like because a lot of people don't know that they can really reach out to their counselors and stuff through email, and they feel like they have to go in between classes and figure out how to put their schedules in a certain way so they can talk to the counselors. And I had to talk to a lot of people and tell them, you know, you can email your counselors. And I feel like a lot of students don't know that they can email their counselors. And with the counselors not always being in office is kind of a problem too, because they are moving around the campus sometimes and they have to do things and talk to more students and stuff. And I feel like if they had like a more flexible schedule and they can try to get their schedule out to the students so we can figure out, hey, this is when we can meet up, this is when we can do this. I feel like that's when things will be more steady. That's it.
Okay, Ashton.
Yeah, I kind of agree with what, I'm sorry, I'm really bad with names, what the previous person said. I believe that the wellness counselors could do a better job with letting it be known that they're open, and letting it be known as to when they are open. I had a personal experience like last week with wanting to go to the wellness counselor because I I was not doing well at all, and I just really needed to see someone. But I walked in, and then someone else walked in that also saw the same counselor as me, and it was just kind of like, do I go in before this person, or does this person go in before me? And I feel like they need to do a better job at kind of scheduling, hey, like, or like be like, oh, I'm like open during these times, and just like letting it be more like known when they are. And I also think that they could do this school could do a better job with like, I mean, they put it in announcements that the wellness counselors are like there, but they're only like, oh yeah, if you're doing bad, you can just go to the wellness counselor, and then that's it. I feel like they should put more thought and kind of more detail into that, because it just kind of seems like it's very easy to gloss over. I feel like the school needs to do a bit better at promoting mental health solutions and stuff. Yeah.
Calling Natalie, you were over on the far right with your hand, Natalie. Sorry. Natalie? Hold on, let me just, or she took her hand down. Sayri?
So just as Ashton was saying, like having a really good relationship, not only with the counselor, but as well with your teacher is like really amazing. Cause last week, there was something going on, and one of my teachers kind of like noticed it, that I was not acting that as usual. So he kind of like came to me and he asked me if everything was okay. So I kind of like talked to him, and he was the one who recommended me to talk to the counselor. And he was the one, he told me that he was going to help me to reach out to the counselor, and he even made an appointment for me to talk to the counselor. And I think it is really nice to have like teachers like that to help you to get the help you need. So that was something that I just wanted to say.
Trustee Lee Stuyer.
It's the later you go, it's like everything's been said, but everything hasn't been said, because this is an ongoing conversation and this is the beginning. And for all of you, it's the beginning, because this is your first interactive board meeting. So it's really important. And it's important you tell your friends about this, because everyone should have an opportunity to express themselves and tell us what they see, because that's how we learn. Okay, so I'm a person who makes a lot of lists and tries to get things done, and I'm always have 1,000 things to do, so I try to stay organized. So the Chromebooks are, okay, so Mr. Skelly, where are you? Okay, you were writing things down too, so I'm hoping that you wrote down all these things. A lot of our Chromebooks are too slow. We need to know why, and that needs to be fixed. Our Wi-Fi is a huge challenge, and as we're on here tonight, my system sometimes says you are unstable, and I'm thinking I'm a pretty stable person, but my computer isn't. But we need to create a stable environment at your schools, because it's terribly frustrating. I know I'm on the computer all day. I work remotely. It's so frustrating when my thing slows down, or it says, "Oh, terminated. You'll be back up in 1 minute and 58 seconds." That time seems horrible. So, and you don't have that time at school. So we need to get that fixed. Signage needs to reflect on that bathrooms are open to everyone, because that's their bathrooms. And it's kind of ironic that we're giving everyone food, which is totally appropriate, and then we don't have enough restroom availability. I mean, how does that make any sense? So that needs to be worked on. The masks, we have mask policies. People should use it. Teachers should enforce it. And everyone knows that if people just don't breathe through their mouths, so cover your nose. And I think that must be hard, and you're not the mask police, so it has to make awkward feelings. And I would hope that we can get that taken care of. I'm very concerned about bathrooms, because everyone should be able to go to the bathroom when they need to. That's a crazy thing to have happen. How can we create more space within the Peninsula structure? And that should be on, I'm sure that Mr. Skelly wrote that down, because there's parts of it, like an outdoor sort of area for basketball. When it's rainy, you're not going to play basketball. Maybe we can come up with a way to cover that and use that as extra space for food. Eating times, because we generally know when it's going to rain, although sometimes not. But we should be able to make better use maybe of the space we have. And I would look to the students to look around at the school and come up with ideas for how we can make better use of the space. The food issue, some of you really brought that up, and it sounds like it's at every school. I had 5 kids around the table. One of them loved chicken skin, another one gagged if she saw chicken with skin. I had a child who only ate white food. I had a child who wouldn't eat green beans. And of course, salad sat there as the last item. They all grew up, and guess what? They all eat salad, they eat chicken, they eat green beans. So we should be educating kids on what is good for them, not forcing them to take things that they're not going to eat. That makes no sense. So I'm hoping that we can take a really hard look at that, because none of you like waste. We don't like waste. It's terrible. There are people in this world who don't have food, and here we have more than we're eating. And so we need to look at that. College, of course, they should be getting food. That makes no sense. You're students. You should have food too. So we have to make sure that happens. And I do want to say, I'm so glad that Peninsula, because I feel more connected to the bigger schools because we hear about them more. And in middle college, I was at their graduation. I loved it. And I think that's such a great program. So to have you here tonight I think is really important. Our meetings, I think that you should know what the topics are for our meetings before we have our meetings, because some of them you're going to find very interesting and some of them you're going to find really boring. So you should be able to choose. And sometimes you can kind of figure out what time the good stuff is going to come on. And maybe that could be better planned, so that we're going to talk about this at 8 o'clock. So then you all know you can come on. Meetings in person versus meetings remote. For me, meetings remote are amazing because I'm not driving home at 10 o'clock in the rain or 10:30 or 11. And it's really nice to just sit and participate. But, and I'm on the computer all day, but I'm not on Zoom all day. So I want to, if we go back to in person, then of course, I'll be there and we'll all be there. There's a lot of things you need to know. And I look at all of this. There's things you need to know and there's things we need to know. So I really see this interaction tonight as the beginning of a lot of sharing of things you need to know and things we need to know, so that you can go back and be messengers and we can take in and make changes that will help you have the best education and best experience that you can have at the school. So thank you very much. And I have my list if anyone needs it. So thank you.
I'm sorry, Trustee Griffin. I think Kaya had something to say, but I think we skipped over her. Did you still want to say something, or?
I was still in the process of calling people, but.
Oh, sorry. I think it was before. Sorry.
Well, yeah, no, and I was actually going to ask Ms. Chalkley, and we're going to run out of time here, roughly, more or less. Natalie Habash is actually, or Hibash is in, she's actually attending and not a panelist. I don't know if we can promote somebody at this late time. I know the superintendent has a whole lot of stuff to say because he's been sitting here listening patiently. Does anybody have a brief, quick last word? We know you have plenty of words and we appreciate your comments. And I did not get to ask questions or praise anybody, but really enjoyed the session. Really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule. Yeah. And if Dr. Skelly, what are you dying to say?
So let me just say a couple things. On the agenda tonight, you'll see that we're processing the purchase of 2,000 new Chromebooks. And so that will, I don't know if the problem is with the device or with the connection, but we're going to work on that piece. This was great. I've done this in a lot of districts, and this was the best we've ever had. And I think to Ms. Lee Stuyer's comment, having you on Zoom allowed many of you to attend, freshmen and sophomores perhaps, that it would have been hard to come down to the district office. And I think that was a good piece tonight. The bathrooms issue, I think we hear that loud and clear. The food issue, I just want to say that when we give food, we have to give you the vegetables and the things you might not want to eat. That's just the way the federal government does things. We don't have a choice, but preventing that kind of waste is really important. to us. The mask issue, I appreciate students, doing that. I want to say that by and large, kids have been great this year, really fantastic. I've been to other places where they're fighting over masks, and you guys want everybody to take care of each other, which is a tremendous tribute to you and your sense of community. One takeaway here is we send out something to families about what's going to be on the board agenda, but we could certainly do that with the Canvas, and that's an easy fix for me and Ms. Chalkley. I do want to thank Ms. Chalkley for moderating this. These things are not easy to get everybody's voice, but we really, I think we heard student voices. This exceeded my expectation, and I really appreciate folks' input tonight.
Okay, well, I certainly appreciate, and I say we can give them a hand or whatever you want to do, thumbs up, or it was an outstanding session, and hearing about all these closed bathrooms and knowing we have a meeting coming, I'm going to take 5 minutes and adjourn the study session. This will not be the last one. We will come back in approximately 5 minutes and open up the meeting, and you're all welcome to stay.
Okay, so if I could just say this, you're going to be demoted to panelists. Sorry about that. It's not personal. And this meeting just continues. So board members, you may want to turn off your camera and then come back on at 7 o'clock when we resume. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Chalkley.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Mr. Griffin, I'm not sure Mr. Hanley or Ms. Lee Stuyer are back yet. There's Ms. Lee Stuyer. And then there's Mr. Hanley. So I think we're all here now.
Okay. Start with a roll call. Trustee Andrade Zuniga.
Present.
Trustee Land.
Here.
Trustee Lee Stuyer.
Present.
Trustee Hanley.
Yes.
I'm here as all board members present. I'll ask the superintendent to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. I've got to get back to my report out. If you give me a second. Okay. We have our Spanish interpreter for the meeting this evening, Mr. Montaldo, and he is in the interpreter room. For those who would like to attend the meeting in Spanish, that option is available. Trustee Andrade Zuniga, would you like to please communicate that this evening?
Yes. Si necesitan interpretación, la opción que está abajo de su pantalla que dice interpretación, pueden oprimir ese botón y llegar al cuarto de interpretación. Muchas gracias.
Okay, thank you. If you wish to view closed captions of this meeting, please view the meeting on the SMUHSD board meeting YouTube channel. The link to the YouTube channel can be found on our website. You may view the captions in English as we live stream our meeting tonight, and you may view the captions in a variety of other languages if you choose to watch after this meeting has ended. Viewers may request additional accommodations by calling 650-558-2201. That's 650-558-2201. We would like to welcome this evening our student board representative, Taylor Wong, a senior at Burlingame High School. We'll be giving a report later in the meeting. In closed session, the board approved a First Amendment to exclusive negotiating agreement with Summerhill Homes LLC regarding the Crestmore site located at 300 Piedmont Avenue in San Bruno, California. This amendment extends the prior 60-day period of exclusive negotiations with Summerhill by approximately an additional month to November 19th, 2021. During that time period, the district will not negotiate with any party other than Summerhill for the sale of the Crestmore site. The agreement was approved by a vote of 5-0. Staff has requested to pull item K15, and that will be brought back at a future meeting. And this is a public meeting of the San Mateo Union High School District Board of Trustees. If you wish to make a comment about an agenda item or during public comment section at the beginning of the agenda, please send an email to comments with an S at SMUHSD.org with your name, email address, and your Zoom name if different, and the item under which you would like to comment. The board president will call on you. Please note that comments are limited to 3 minutes, and the board president may increase or decrease the time allowed for public presentation, depending on the topic and the number of persons wishing to be heard. And I think that is all the T's and C's. Under item I1, I'll acknowledge receipt of letter from the San Mateo County Office of Education regarding the our financial position. And we'll move on to J1. I'm sorry.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, Griffin. I wanted to acknowledge that we did have 2 requests for public comment, but neither of those individuals are in the audience.
Okay, thank you.
So I just wanted to acknowledge that.
Okay. Thank you. I was okay. Governing board comments. Does the board have a trustee Land? You have your hand up.
I just want to say thank you again to Ms. Chalkley and for the students for such a great presentation and the exchange of information with the students. I'm really looking forward to doing that again soon. So that's incredible, and I'm really glad it finally happened. I hope it happens again quarterly at least. Thanks.
Trustee Hanley.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I was able to attend the Unity and the Community meeting, which I think was our first one for this academic year, and it was a very good meeting. This one happened to focus on transmitting a lot of information to the community, but we also had a chance to do a breakout group and discuss a couple of topics. And I think there'll be 2 more coming up. The next one, I believe, is in January. But yeah, it was a good experience to attend another one of those meetings.
Trustee Andrade Zuniga.
Thank you. Yes, I just wanted to acknowledge that we are on Ramaytush a Lonely Land. And I wanted to also talk about unity in the community. If we need more participation from parents and families. So yeah, it was a great event, and I hope that there could be more representation from our communities next time, but it was awesome. I also wanted to acknowledge our ELD soccer team. We have been doing great things. I wanted to acknowledge Samia Showman and Brett Stevenson and all of the hard work they've put into getting this going. I remember when I was on the PTSO at Hillsdale, I remember when Brett had just started with Mr. Stevenson, excuse me, when he started this program with Ms. Showman, and it was just getting together, and it was so exciting because so many of our students, as Ms. Showman had been quoted in the paper, talking about how important it is to bridge those gaps, especially with students that are new to the area and new to the country, how important it is to find community. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that. And if anybody can participate on Saturday, they're going to be having their championship at 11 a.m. So it would be great to have people go out and support. I also wanted to acknowledge that Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos, is on November 2nd, and that's a big deal for our community. So I just wanted to acknowledge that, and I know that a lot of our clubs will be doing different things. So it would be great to get some support around that. On November 4th at 6 p.m., there will be a collaboration with San Mateo County Health in a conversation in Spanish with English interpretation about COVID vaccines and the schools and our students. So if you'd like more information on that, it is on the county health website. Thank you. And that's it. I also wanted to say thank you to our students for joining us today. It was great. Thanks a lot.
Okay, I will acknowledge that I participated in unity in the community and I enjoyed it. The format has changed and it was, whereas before I felt like the district was presenting and using all the oxygen in the room, with all due respect to all the people that work very hard, it's far more interesting and far more interactive when you let parents and students ask questions, present. There was a lot of good information exchanged, and I think we just do have to do our best to get the turnout there. So, and I think the thing that if there is a population that the biracial, multiracial, certainly we ought to let people know that it is good news. There are resources. You want to learn about college deadlines, scholarships. There's all kind of things that you should at least listen so you could get something out of it. So I don't see any other hands. So we're going to move on to J1, the recognition, Dr. Skelly.
Yeah, thank you very much. This is an attempt to, we discussed this at the end of the meeting. This is this month is we have a proclamation for you on Disability Awareness Month that we asked you to approve.
Motion or a second, any comment? Trustee Land?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution, and I'd also like to say thank you to administration and Dr. Skelly for putting this at the top of the agenda and having us have a little moment of time to be able to acknowledge it. And I think it's wonderful. So I think it's very important. I know one comment I'm going to make is ability, during this month, a lot of times, schools participate in kind of fairs, ability fairs, to just get, so people give perspective to what's happening to those with different types of disabilities. And my school's done it many years in a row, and I think it's a wonderful experience. I'm hoping that at the high school level, we're doing something along those lines as well.
Okay, is there a second to this motion? Okay, so we have a motion by Trustee Land. I think that was a second by Trustee Andrade Zuniga.
No, by me.
Oh, I couldn't see lips moving, and it was just a little. Okay, yeah, there you go. Trustee Lee Stuyer with the second. Trustee Andrade Zuniga.
I vote yes. I just have a comment. Thank you for acknowledging this for this month, and it should be acknowledged all the time. People with disabilities are some of the lowest employed people in the world, really, and it's unfortunate because it's part of disability is part of just natural human diversity, and so in any sort of inclusion or equity work that anybody does anywhere, if they are not including disability, it is not fully inclusive. So thank you.
Okay, I think you had a yes vote in the front end of that. So Trustee Land.
Right behind Likia. Yes.
Trustee, okay, was that a yes?
Yes.
Yes, yes. Trustee Lee Stuyer.
Yes.
Trustee Hanley.
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. And recognition is adopted by the board. And we're going to move to the consent agenda.
I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to approve the consent agenda. It's a big one.
I'm going to second it, advising you that I've read every contract on it.
Okay, so we have a motion by Trustee Land and a second by Trustee Lee Stuyer. I have a quick comment. For those of you that have not read Parable of the Sower, that is the greatest. That is one of the greatest books. I've like
Yeah.
You know, it was just like, I don't know, maybe I don't know how many years ago I read it, but I just kind of picked it up on a flyer and couldn't put it down. So I was glad to see that's the kind of material we're adding. So we have Trustee Lamb with the motion, Trustee Lee Stuyer with the second, Trustee Andrade Zuniga.
I vote yes, and I do agree that Purbo Zoe is a great
Trustee Lamb.
Second. I vote yes, and I agree.
Trustee Lee Stuyer.
I vote yes, and I'm actually going to get both books because I want to reread Parable, and I've not read it here at Chinatown.
Trustee Hanley.
Yes.
I'll vote yes, and the consent agenda will pass 5-0. And hold on, let me. Reports, regular reports. L1 report of the superintendent.
Thank you very much. We are almost at the end of October. The year is moving along. Students are having success. If you didn't notice the masks, you would think this was pretty much a regular school year. So we're really excited about how things are going, how hard staff are working. It's been a hard year, but I think we're seeing some success, and as been mentioned, students' enthusiasm for what's going on at school seems to be at a really high level. We've done some analysis of attendance so far this year, and our attendance rates are comparable to when before the pandemic. So if you go back fall of 2019 compared to now, why attendance is right there. Very close to what it was before. And the board has seen that attendance is a huge predictor of how well students will do in school. So those are good facts. We are still struggling to get subs, particularly on Fridays. Administrators in the district office are out there supporting as well. And we want to make sure that every single day for students in every single period is a meaningful opportunity for them. Dr. Black and I met with representatives from San Francisco State University earlier this week to talk about ways that we could work more closely together. I think we have some good ideas, and we can continue to work about getting the most talented and most diverse staff that we possibly can. And that was an exciting conversation. Yesterday, Bethany Lee, who's our district sustainability coordinator, convened the first meeting of the year of the sustainability committee. Lots of energy there, great support from the county, and we're prepared to do some really good work there and lead the county high school districts in this effort. It is one of the events that we celebrate tomorrow is Halloween. I gave a lot of thought to what I would be for Halloween. I'm going to be chicken big, and my sign will say the sky is not falling. We are going to make it through this period. So Chicken Little may say the sky is falling, but Chicken Big says that's not true. So I look forward to putting on my chicken outfit tomorrow, wandering around the district, having a few laughs, and enjoying my experience with students. And Mr. Land, I'm curious as to what what your plans are for Halloween. Don't tell me you're not getting dressed up.
Actually, I have to go to the garage to get a costume. I have a bunch of costumes and I don't know which one I'm going to be. So let's end this meeting soon, right? Early tonight.
And if you can't find anything, I have 6 crates full. Anybody on this call who needs something, just send me an email. I'll take care of you. That's it.
Thank you for your report. And I still remember you making everybody dress up for your Halloween party, Mr. Chicken Big. So anyway, thank you. It's a pleasure to have something that's a little lighter. So special reports, student board rep Taylor Wong, L2.
Thank you, President Griffin. Hello, Superintendent Skelly, members of the board, and audience members. Again, just to be clear, my name is Taylor Wong, and I'm a current senior at Burlingame High. So earlier this week on Tuesday 26th, BHS was lucky to have a host, Miss Elizabeth Eckford, for in virtual and also in-person study sessions. For those who don't know, Miss Eckford was one of the Little Rock Nine, who in 1957 made a landmark case, and she is literally one of the reasons why we people of all races can go to school together. She supported integration, and she's just an amazing person. It was an honor to meet her, and it's an honor for her to tell her story, especially to younger generations. And of course, she's a civil rights hero. So the BHS leadership has been hosting events to celebrate upcoming Halloween, such as today, where we have a little trick-or-treat event for our students. And next week is also very big for Burlingame High because it's our homecoming and also annual Little Big Game against San Mateo. Trustee Andrade Zuniga, I know is important for our representation. So part of my group, we're holding, sorry, I'm like nervous. We're holding a Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos celebration on Monday, and I believe Tuesday we'll be setting up an ofrenda and having a hall and encouraging students to participate if they would like to, just so we can all celebrate the memory of those we have lost, especially in COVID during these difficult times. So next week's also start of Spirit Day, Spirit Week, where we have individual themes, as well as leading up to the great Homecoming Festival on next Friday and the annual Little Big Game next Saturday. Hopefully BHS will win. No offense to San Mateo, we love all of you guys, but again, but thank you. But overall, thank you everyone. Thank you all for having me. And yeah.
Thank you for your report, Craig Childress with the District Teachers Association.
Good evening,
Mr.
President
Childress.
Griffin, members. Oh, pardon me, sorry.
No, I said Mr. Childress.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Good evening, President Griffin, members of the board, district cabinet. I'll be very brief tonight. I would echo some of the comments that Dr. Skelly mentioned about how students are back at school and really enthusiastic about being back, and things are really positive. October is often, if you've been in education, in a classroom teacher for any length of time, you know that October is a challenging time to push through, to get through to the holidays, and you know, the excitement and the newness of the new year has worn off, and you're looking forward to a break, and students are really working hard to complete all their assignments. October can be a really hard time, but this year it seems that many students and for that matter, most teachers are really pushing forward with a lot of positive energy. So that's a really good thing. The only other thing I want to mention tonight is that just to once again lend my support for the student vaccination requirement for extracurricular activities. Again, I believe that we can go farther, but this is a step in the right direction, and we need to lead in the same way that Dr. Skelly talked about the sustainability program, and as a district leading the county in that effort. I think we need to be a leader in the county for fast tracking vaccination requirements and expectations for all students and all staff going forward. It's the only way that we're going to keep kids safe and schools open. So once again, it's a step in the right direction, but I think we have the capability and we have the responsibility to do more. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Report of the L4 report of the CSEA Chapter 519 Representative Ms. Velez.
Good evening, President Griffin, members of the board, Dr. Skelly, and everyone here tonight. First and foremost, we want to thank you for approving the salary increase for classified employees. We appreciate the joint statement sent by Dr. Skelly and CSEA notifying all classified staff about their increase and the additional benefits we're receiving for the 21-22 school year. We also want to thank and recognize our CTA and Ask Me Union brothers and sisters for their collaboration with the health and welfare benefits negotiations. We are stronger together. Still, we continue to have much work to do and will remain diligent in the pursuit for equity. We're experiencing a district-wide issue with classified staff performing their assigned essential duties they were hired to do in addition to COVID reassignments. When classified staff was reassigned to conduct additional duties due to remote learning, classified staff were happy to fill in wherever needed. However, now that we're back to full-scale on-campus learning, many of the classified staff are now expected to continue conducting these additional duties without being offered any overtime, regardless of having to perform their normal essential duties. In addition, we have many members performing duties outside of their job classification. When members are expected to conduct these higher level duties, they have the option to fill out a variable for out-of-class pay. Unfortunately, managers are rejecting these variables, and we have members who fear retaliation. Therefore, they don't fill out a variable at all. The district has refused and/or failed to recognize this issue. This is not acceptable. We hope the district will look into this, review certain workloads, hire help where it is needed, and pay employees who are doing out-of-class work accordingly. The bottom line is we don't feel valued. Lastly, sites are buzzing with homecoming and Halloween energy. It's great to see clubs outside at lunch and students participating in athletic events as safely as these times will allow. I would like to thank you for your time tonight. We do appreciate it. You guys have a great weekend and a good evening.
Thank you. I'm multitasking and not doing a very good job of responding. So we're going to move on to L5, report of the San Mateo Adult School Teachers Association. Paula Ackerman. Ms. Ackerman.
Good evening. Hello, everyone. It's nice to see you. And an early happy Halloween to you. Today, the adult school celebrated its Halloween party today, and boy, were the students interested and enjoying the time that they had. We had our break at 10:30. Everyone came out, looked at the doors that had been decorated and the windows that had been decorated, and the pumpkins that each class had decorated were put on out front, and it had been chosen. They got the top 3 pumpkins, the top 3 windows and doors, and everyone was just having a good time talking. And then once we saw all that, then we all got in wearing our costumes. We got in a line and we all danced around and talked to people and saw people. And I saw former students coming back just as happy as ever. It was just a really happy time to be together. Then we went to the flag post, and the sun was out. It wasn't cold, it wasn't hot, it was just perfect. And we wandered around after a while into the different classrooms, said hello to people. Some people were having a party, some people were just talking. It was just a really nice time to be there. And they're going to be doing that again tonight at break time. So we hope they have as much fun as we did. And September went by nicely, October is going, and I'm sure the rest of the time will continue. So thank you to everyone and hope everything works out well for you. Good night, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you. Special reports and appearances. M1, approve the specific draft policy 6145.1. Dr. Skelly, you have a presentation?
Yes, we do. Well, I will say that this is what we're bringing back to you tonight is very similar to what you have seen before. So I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of time here. We have updated a few of the presentations here. Next slide, you got this. Okay, so at the last board meeting, you asked us to bring back a policy mandating either COVID-19 vaccinations or weekly testing for students to participate in extracurricular activities. The next slide gives you a little bit of information about where we are with with CDC guidance and the case numbers. Not included here is the fact that the R in the county is at 0.88, which anything below 1 suggests, or it means that cases are down. California is doing the best job in the country, I believe, in terms of COVID rates and hospitalizations. We have a large percentage of our population fully vaccinated. We don't have very many people in the hospital right now. Cases are down, I believe, 2/3 since since the September 1st. So we're making progress here, but we still have an unacceptable number of cases. Too many people getting sick, too many students missing school, and still too much of the virus out there. Next slide. So we've gone over this slide. This is not anything new. We're suggesting that you pass an expectation that those students participating in extracurricular activities are either tested or vaccinated. Right now, we cannot compel students to test, but we can, because extracurriculars are a privilege, not a right, we can make that an expectation for our students. I know that some would like to see us mandate vaccinations. That's another question, but we can't mandate testing of all of our students because there's no compulsion to be tested. But if you associate that with extracurricular activities, well, then students will have to test if they want to participate in those activities. Beginning on October 15th, we've successfully rolled out the expectation that staff are either vaccinated or test. This policy would, for extracurriculars, be the same as what we expect for staff. So there would be equality in terms of at least the students who participate in extracurricular activities and the staff members who come in every day here. Next slide. So this policy would expect that the testing takes place once a week, and ideally it would be within 48 hours of a context or activity when possible. We offer free testing to all students. The comment came up when we talk to students, is there any limit? No, students can come every week. We have staff members that come every week, whether they're vaccinated or not, for this. One of the complaints has been, well, this is discriminating against folks who are not vaccinated, or some sort of stigma. We have students and staff members who are testing right now, even though they're vaccinated. And we don't ask for staff member, when the folks are there doing the testing, they do not know who's been vaccinated or not, but they do give the test. And we would be expecting, we follow up with staff who for whatever reason are absent or miss those, and we would do the same thing with students. Next slide. So this is just gives you an idea of where those testing places happen, and then starting October 18th, when those are available. You can see that this is a long time availability. There's time before school starts, there's time at lunch, there's time at other opportunities. There's no reason why a student or a staff member could not work in testing. Plus students could test at home if they wished. Next slide. So clubs and activities during lunch. We have clubs are fairly fluid. We don't have a specific roster. Many times kids show up at a club with their friends. They might go to a club meeting and then the next week not, or drop out of a club, or those kinds of things. And those are activities that are closely supervised. So we're not asking that for testing of those students right now. We are expecting it for extracurricular activities, athletics that are outside of the school day and not part of the regular class. Our ability to supervise from an administrative position every practice or every extracurricular activity is limited, and we think that this is a step that helps to assure safety in our community. Next slide. So there was questions about spectators at games and plays. We are within the county guidelines on these issues. If our attendance is over 1,000 or 10,000 attendees for outdoor events, why then we would be in those situations. We have been having some discussions about this with our basketball programs because we've always had a tradition of having high attendance at basketball events. This year we're splitting we're not having quads. We're having events for boys and girls at the opposite venues. So we don't think this will be a challenge, but we're not in a position where we could test or vaccinate spectators. And that's not we'd be going against the expectations of the county. We also have folks who are not part of our community who come, and are watching their relatives or other folks. And, we just don't feel like this is something that we can manage or that we think is important at this point. Next slide. So our thoughts about things like dances and those kinds of things. First of all the dances that are taking place now are outdoors, which we know are safer. But our expectation is that when this policy goes into effect, that students will easily be able to come in, show their vaccine status or show their testing status, and then move on into the event. For athletics in smaller groups, our athletic trainers will manage testing and student list management. According to our records, we have the numbers for winter athletics are you can count them on your fingers and toes. So this shouldn't be something that should be hard to manage because most of our athletes are vaccinated already. And then for robotics and plays, once again, we expect that the number of folks who are not vaccinated will be vanishingly small. Involved in a play, board members received this. There were concerns about the fact that the actors in plays and the stage tech folks would have to wear masks. We tried to get some leniency on this policy from the county, and at this point, that wasn't possible. But when one of the arguments that were put forward by the actors or the folks who are running our dramatic arts was that all the kids are vaccinated. So it may be that that students are already on those activities will be vaccinated just because it's a lot easier to get vaccinated once than have to get tested every week. So we think this is going to have the incentive of encouraging more students to do that. Next slide. So we propose that we put this into effect Monday, November 15th. The reasons for that are we want to publicize this, send something out to our community, let folks know, let our coaches know, let other people know. The week before this is Veterans Day. And so that's a busy time. November 15th is after our homecoming events have taken place. The first, we'll be able to do some of the things with athletics and some of the plays beginning on November 15th before we launch into a large gathering like a play. And then the winter sports, our numbers are significantly smaller. And we'll also have decided on who's on the team and who's still trying out for that activity. The next slide, please. That's it. Okay, so once again, we hope that this is, we think that this is not perfect. For some in our community, this isn't enough. For others, this is farther than they want to go. But I think it sends a message that we're all in this together and that everybody, whether you can vaccinate, we've had comments from people who can't vaccinate for various health conditions, and they're pleading for us to adopt this because they want their student to have this extra level of support. So I'm going to stop talking now. I'm going to turn it back to you, Mr. Griffin, and we're happy to answer any questions that you have tonight.
Okay, I'm going to ask if there are any clarifying questions, and then I'm going to call on the public speakers, and they're going to be allowed 2 minutes each, and I'll ask them to honor the time as best they can. So first speaker is Niels Headley. Forgive me if I mispronounced your name.
No, you did really well. Nils rhymes with Mills. Superintendent Kelly and trustees, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Nils Headley, and I am both a parent and a teacher at Mills High School. And I got my booster shot today at the San Mateo County Event Center. If you're interested, make an appointment. As a club sponsor and a parent of a child who participates in school plays, I fully support a vaccination requirement for students who are involved in such activities. Right now, our county is in a good spot, one of the best spots in the country because of a sensible and proactive COVID policy and actions. We know vaccines reduce the likelihood of the spread of COVID. It reduces the severity and likelihood of long COVID and hospitalizations and death. This is not hard. We know the vaccine is safe and effective. The students we are making policy for are those who participate in activities where masks oftentimes are untenable, like athletics or some of the other activities. Now, while the vaccine is not foolproof, it is a modern miracle that has saved lives and made sure that our hospitals aren't overcrowded and putting an extra strain on our county's healthcare workers. When we worry about equity in vaccination and participation, the answer isn't to make less of an effort at COVID safety, but rather more of an effort, and this mandate is part of that. I appreciate it, and thank you very much. I yield my time.
Thank you. Jen Jacobson.
You're muted right now.
Oh,
There you are.
oh,
There you go.
thank you so much. I'm so sorry. Okay, thank you so much for the time. I just wanted to say that I think the policy is pretty reasonable. However, I just think that it's unnecessary at this point. I want to know where's the fire. I can count on one hand the number of cases reported on your district website that we've had in the last 3 weeks. That data hasn't been updated till tomorrow, but Dr. Skelly said that the case rate is still unacceptable. Right now it's at 1%, and I want to know what an acceptable case would be. You said that kids are still missing too much school, when earlier in the meeting you said that the attendance rate is equivalent to pre-pandemic. So there's the data showing that as it stands currently, COVID is causing a disruption of extracurricular activities. Can you tell me how many times the case of COVID has interfered in extracurricular events to date? Why isn't that information even being presented or considered while discussing this policy? My sense is the number is 0 and that the current vaccination rate and mitigation strategies are more than sufficient. A 1% case rate is more than acceptable. It is phenomenal. And to correct you, Dr. Skelly, Florida is actually doing better in COVID rates than San Mateo County. They are at 9 per 100,000. We are at 48 per 100,000. And that's without mandates. In the last board meeting, Trustee Hanley lamented how this pandemic has disrupted these kids' lives long enough and it needs to end. But what has wreaked the most havoc on our kids is not the disease itself, but the mandates that they've had to suffer through and continue to suffer through in response to it. We can choose as a community to end that disruption by simply ending these policies. The vaccination rate is extremely high. The case rate is extremely low. At this point, those who haven't been vaccinated yet don't want to be, and they have their reasons.
Would you wrap up your comments, please?
Yeah. Trustee Hanley said in the last meeting that we all live in a risk environment and that you're more likely to die driving to the grocery store than from the vaccine. To the same point, a healthy teenager is more likely to die from driving to the grocery store than dying from COVID. So I just feel that this policy is unnecessary at this time.
Thank you. Ariane Adamchikova.
Hello, thank you. I am a Spanish, my name is Ariane Adamchikova. I'm a
Apologize.
Can you
Sorry.
hear me?
Yes, I
Okay,
apologize.
great. That's okay. No, so I'm a Spanish teacher at Capuchino High School. I was really, really proud of my current student, Raymond Gonzalez, and former student Hayat Azkul, as well as Mayank Patil, when I heard them all speaking along with all of the other student board members. So bravo to all of the students, and bravo to having this dialogue with the students. Some of the things I want to speak on the vaccine, not exactly a mandate, but making sure that all of our students have either a vaccine or are tested before they participate in extracurriculars. I think that this is the least we can do. Many of the private schools are making sure that all of their students are tested once or twice weekly, every single student just to arrive to school. So I think that this is a very reasonable ask that I think that our community, wholeheartedly supports. Parents, students, and teachers and staff. We are almost all of our teachers and staff are vaccinated. Many of us, even though we are vaccinated, we are going in for the weekly tests as well, because many of our own students are missing 2 to 3 weeks when they or a member of their family comes down with COVID. This is something that we are still currently experiencing on a regular basis within our schools. To the point that some of the student members mentioned earlier, they feel that a lot of the teachers, staff are not being as strict with the masking policies, that we're all getting a little bit lax. Well, I am very strict about the masking policies. I think that we need to continue to be vigilant. A lot of our community members have suffered greatly, and we do have to protect our most vulnerable students and our most vulnerable family members and those that cannot get the vaccine for a variety of reasons. I think that this is to participate in extracurricular activities. It's a simple and it's easy, and we have to support it. And I think I stand with the vast majority of the community when I say that we support this. And so please vote for it. Thank you.
Christine Chambers.
Hi, I'm gonna just keep my camera off for privacy for my kids here. Thank you. Last week, I got the dreaded notice of a COVID positive case at my daughter's high school. This was the 7th one in 10 weeks of school, 3 more since the last school board meeting. All the students must be vaccinated now. The board has been failing to represent the feelings of many parents, including me, who want our kids and families safe. Most of these parents don't participate in these meetings because they are in favor of the vaccine mandates, and they are extremely put off by the aggressive and ignorant anti-vax community. The board has been caving to the anti-vax rhetoric of people who are spreading misinformation and lies about the virus and the vaccines. 741,582 people have died in the United States because of COVID, and Florida's rate is higher than California's, by the way. That's approximately 100,000 since the last school board meeting. Tomorrow, there are to be no costumes related to the virus on campus out of respect for the family members and friends who have died due to the virus, and yet you allow unvaccinated students on the campuses. These anti-vaxxers talk about the VAERS site to support their misinformed opinions, but that site, as stated by the CDC, is not verified. Contrary to what has been said, anyone can post, and they can post anything they want on that site. Parents need to consult their pediatricians or general health care practitioners and verified sites of information on the disease and vaccines. In lieu of that, the school board needs to step in. The schools have always claimed that they are there for the students to check for signs of abuse, mental health issues, and nutritional deficiencies. Not getting vaccinated against a deadly disease that's killed 741,582 people in this country is abuse and bad parenting. The schools say they are a safe haven, and at the beginning of the school year, the board said that schools must provide a safe environment for all students to learn. People are angry about putting more restrictions on kids than adults. They say, why should my kid be vaccinated to go to school if I don't need to be vaccinated to go to a bar? But adults don't have to go to bars, and kids do have to go to school. My kid is forced to go to school, therefore you must keep her safe. The CD says we should be asking our schools if guidance is being followed to mitigate the spread of COVID-19. Among that guidance is vaccines for those eligible. The school district is failing to follow that guidance. All of the students currently enrolled have met vaccine requirements previously mandated by the state of California. They can't pick and choose. We did not wait 10 years before mandating the polio vaccine when it was new. There have always been vaccine mandates.
Would you wrap up, please?
Yes, vaccinated students can get COVID from unvaccinated students, and they can harm the families and people like me who are immunocompromised. Please don't let these tragedies happen. And also, kids can die of COVID-19 too. Thank you.
Elizabeth Bear.
Mr. Griffin, I don't find Elizabeth Bear, so we can move on to Casey Guerra Dorsa, and I'll keep looking for Ms. Bear.
Casey Guerra Dorsa, please.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for having me. I'm currently a student athlete at one of your district's high schools, and I'm not vaccinated. I do understand that COVID is out there, and I take it seriously. Sports are an outlet for me that help me cope with any stresses of being a high school student or just a teenager in general. I enjoy playing sports and make many friends and relationships through playing sports. I'm fine testing weekly to play sports, and I have been testing at school when it is available. So I ask you just to let us test instead of getting vaccinated. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Laurel Peters.
I'm sorry, Mr. Griffin. I think she's coming in right now.
Yeah.
I apologize. I got the notification that she's coming in and she's not. So let me promote the next person and we'll come back to Laurel.
No, she's on now. I got her.
There she is.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. I was kind of having a panic attack there. I just want to say I appreciate the policy and I hope that you'll vote for it. And my position has always just been neither, just for the unvaccinated students who have no power over whether they are vaccinated or not. And a vaccine mandate would not get them vaccinated. Those who I do know who are unvaccinated, it's a very strong position. And, I'm just praying for clarity and for information and more information that would make everyone feel that they wouldn't be putting their child in danger to be vaccinated. I'm for the testing. I think one of the reasons that our county has such great numbers is that we have a respect. My boss at Roosevelt Elementary says, we've entered into a covenant with each other even before the vaccine was available to do the right thing to protect one another. My father-in-law, my stepfather just passed away in Montana, and I drove through 3 different states and was in and out of different situations. And though I am vaccinated, the first thing I did is test myself when I got home. I think it's just a respect for each other because we know that we can carry it and we can have it. So I'm for this. But the biggest thing that I'm for is saying yes to kids. We have numbers right now that we can keep an eye on, and we can say yes to kids. And I speak a lot about my dad and my mom and everyone that I'm related to that spent their whole life saying yes to kids. Well, we just said goodbye to my stepdad, and he was a ski coach and a ski racer. And in his obituary, it said he spent 30 years of his life making sure every child he could find that would want to ski could ski. And he coached them and drove them to races all over the state. And then in the end, he started a fundraising program to get the funds to the kids because it is such an expensive sport. I realize I'm out of time. I've just spent my whole life surrounded, raised by, and groomed by people who didn't just think of their own kids, but they thought of every kid in the community. And this allows us to stay safe and watch the numbers, protect each other, and say yes to the kids. And I don't think we have to lead the state or the country to set a precedent. What we need to do is lead in how we can say yes to every child and find them and bring them in and keep them with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Terry Batari.
Terry has declined to be promoted, so I've promoted Asher Westling. I'll try Terry one more time.
You're Westling. Good evening.
We still can't hear you, Asher.
May I start?
Yes, you're good.
Yes.
Hello, my name is Asher Westling. I am a 9th grader at Hillsdale High School, and my biology teacher, Miss Z, asked us to create a slideshow about vaccines, and I found some really interesting data. For the mumps vaccine, it took about 4 years to create the vaccine, and it is 88% effective against mumps, and it lasts your entire life. The polio vaccine took about 20 years to make. It is 100% effective, and it also lasts the entirety of your life. The fatality for mumps can cause severe complications, and for polio, 2 to 5% of children who had polio died, and up to 10 to 30% among adults were case fatalities. But what I found interesting is with COVID, it took about a little under a year to make. It is 88% effective, but over the course of 6 months, it turns into 47% effective. And the case fatality rate among children is 0.013% for COVID. So I have recently gone back to school, and at school I am close to other people 7 hours a day, hanging out with people, having to wear masks. And I wanted to join the fishing club, so I did. And what this proposition is saying that I need to get tested a week before or a couple days before I go fishing with my friends outdoors at the docks. It doesn't make any sense to me. It really doesn't make any sense. And even outside of school, I've been hanging out with my friends, hanging out at their houses, eating food. I had a campfire bonfire and also did some fishing, caught a shark. Pretty fun. And you are having us get COVID tests for going out fishing. Doesn't really make sense. Well, and thank you.
Thank you, Asher. We have Terry is ready to speak. Ms. Chalkley, is that
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, all right, I'm gonna leave the camera off so I can hold my phone and read my comments to you. Okay, thank you for letting me speak. I'll speak quickly, I have 2 minutes. Okay, I just wanna say that COVID-19 vaccines appear to be failing in significant measures around the world. Highly vaccinated countries like Israel and the United Kingdom are showing that their own cases are rising dramatically. Hospitals are filling up with patients who are already fully vaccinated. And even the CDC is warning that boosters may soon be needed for US consumers of these products. With all that being said, how can this board say that these vaccines are showing proof or evidence that it's helping the situation? That's a question I have for you there, okay? Numerous health authorities and media outlets around the globe are revealing that these COVID vaccine products are unable to stop either transmission, infection, or even hospitalization or death. There's also the possibility that the vaccine products themselves are causing the variants. Numerous scientists have even said this and warned us about that. Moreover, the Delta variant is now alleged to be the dominant variant in California. The CDC has made it clear in recent weeks that vaccinated persons can transmit Delta variant and might even possess higher viral loads than those who are not vaccinated, particularly those who have already naturally recovered from COVID-19. Since none of the vaccine products were ever tested for or intended to prevent infection or transmission and are not preventing either, choosing to get a COVID-19 vaccine must remain an individual and personal health choice with individualized risk-benefit assessments afforded to each person. Okay, so there is no legitimate public health reason to mandate that healthy children take a product that is still in its experimental clinical trials and that could cause more harm than benefit to these children. Okay, how much time do I have left? That's it. Okay, so I'm done.
Okay.
I do want to ask one question. Can I just ask one question and then be done with this?
Well, you can say whatever. We're not allowed to respond to public comment.
Okay,
Let's see.
all right. I have a question for this board. It has to do with the CDC's COVID-19 Crisis Response Cooperative Agreement. It's a cooperative agreement for emergency response, public health crisis response. I want to know if this school and the school board has accepted or is intending to accept funding under this agreement with CDC and the Department of Health and Human Services. I would like this question answered by the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Wessling.
Hey, good evening. I got kind of a grab bag of things. First thing, Dr. Skelly, anecdotal evidence is anecdotal evidence. Show data or don't say anything, period. The confirmation bias is also a thing. If you're not familiar with that, you should look it up. It is incumbent upon intelligent, rational individuals to continue to look for evidence of your own position being wrong. I am constantly looking for evidence that would support me getting myself vaccinated and my children. I'm looking forward to the time when the evidence is there. On the Florida versus California thing, Florida's number of kids that have died through this whole thing is 17. California's is 46. So there's a 50% higher fatality rate in California than there is in Florida for kids. I wonder what the reason for that is. So I'm taking a look at this. Sorry. I'm taking a look at the CSBA conflict of interest fact sheet, and it's really kind of interesting. It says the PRA prohibits a public official from participating in governmental decision that affects his or her financial interests. While it may sound straightforward, the analysis is incredibly complex and not necessarily logical. The FPPC's basic rule is that a public official may not participate in or influence a governmental decision that will have a reasonably foreseeable material financial effect on the official's immediate family, or any of the official's economic interests. And the FPPC has developed an 8-step analysis defining this terminology. This analysis, and I'm quoting from this document, is separate from the analysis for determining the disclosure requirements for Form 700. Since not all of the economic interests that may cause a conflict of interest under the PRA are required to be disclosed on a board member's Form 700. Do you know whether or not you have any Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, any of these, or any of the testing companies stock in your 401ks, or your children's, or your spouse's? Yeah, if you're not sure, you need to recuse yourself from this tonight, because these questions are going to be asked. And then finally, how much time do I have left? 17 seconds. Oh my gosh. So they're remeasuring.
You're over by 17, but wrap up.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to a board discussion, comments, and possible action. Whose hands are up or who wants to speak? Am I muted or something?
Oh.
Okay. Oh, Trustee Hanley. Sorry, I didn't see your hand over there.
Well, we've had a pretty thorough discussion of this in over 2 board meetings. You know, I'm going to support this tonight because I think we need to move forward and this moves us forward. I think we need to go farther than this, but this is a good first step to get us moving in the right direction. And I think it moves us to a safer position in terms of protecting students and protecting staff. So I'm going to move approval of the policy.
Second.
Got a motion by trustee Hanley and a second by trustee Lamb. We have trustee Lee Stuyer who wants to comment.
I actually have a few things to say, but I have a question first. And that is to, I guess, Ms. Devaney, actually. I'm not comfortable with the testings that I saw listed on the presentation. Testing at a school once a week, one opportunity a week, I don't think is sufficient for students. I think that if a kid misses it and that's their only place they can really get it, and I'm talking about kids, probably the most vulnerable kids, I think that's not right, because we're limiting the opportunity to be. I think if we're going to do this, we should have at the front desk of every school test kits, and people at the front desk should be trained to test, and then any kid walking in can get a test. And is that feasible? How can we have more testing availability for these kids? I want no one rejected from an extracurricular event because they didn't get a test. So how can we do that?
How can we increase our testing?
So that we can give much more opportunity than once a week at each school. Can we have the kits behind the main desk when you walk in and there are people there, you train people to do it? Is that feasible?
I'm not sure if behind the desk is something we can do, but we can definitely explore options for increasing our like over-the-counter options that are the take-home ones you're talking about, as opposed to the rapid on campus. But students are able to go and staff are able to go to any location throughout the district. So they aren't just limited to theirs. We're also talking about increasing our hours based on need. Right now, we have lots of availability between passing period. It takes less than 2 minutes per test. So there's lots of time during the day that kids can accomplish their testing. So we're happy to look at that. We're measuring the data in terms of when are the busy times. If there are times when people would like to get it, that it's not available. And then we're working with our athletic trainers who are also testing as well. And so we know that there will be some additional availability throughout the day.
Okay, so I appreciate the answer. Having tests at different locations doesn't help a 14-year-old who walks to school and has no transportation after school. So,
Yeah.
or takes the bus to school. So
Can I just jump in here?
Help that child. So a child at one school. So could we?
Right. So can I, maybe I can help you, Ms. Dwyer, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, Ms. Devaney, but all of our athletic trainers are on campus during the day. If a student came forward and missed whatever that day was and needed to be tested the next day, the trainers are in a position where they can step in to take care of that student. So to your point, Ms. Lee Dwyer, and I share it. If I missed a test on Monday, can I go and see the trainer and get a test? Absolutely, we can definitely make sure that happens.
How about the health? Don't we have health aides on any campus too?
They can do it too.
Okay, it would just seem like we put it in the health office and we could do drop-in testing for these kids, because it's going to be the kid who has the ticket to the dance, who's 14 years old, who's so excited, who didn't get the test, and he's going to get turned away. And that's wrong. Okay.
Right. Well, we can, I don't know, but we don't have that many dances. But when we do, there's no reason why, hey, you have to wait. You take a test, you wait a half an hour, you can come in after we get a negative test on you. We can handle the issue that you're concerned about, Ms. Lee Dwyer. We do want to teach responsibility to students that they come on the days when we're available and get in the habit of doing that with their family, but we can handle any emergency like this.
Okay, I just think if we make kids, there needs to be as much opportunity as possible. I don't want someone who wants to participate in extracurricular activity to slip through the cracks because they miss the test, they get turned away. I want no one turned away from anything because I feel that that is not right. And, you know, I see public education as opportunity, open to everyone with only the most pressing restrictions. And I don't want to create a division between curricular and extracurricular that doesn't seem genuine. Equality is genuine, and I want their privacy respected. I don't like the word privilege used in here, that extracurriculars are privileged, because the word privilege is not a happy word in this country. And it has implications. I think that if you really continue the privilege analysis, we don't want to go down that path. So I want, if we can offer that test to absolutely every child who wants it in an open way, so that they can go to the health office and just get it. And there's a big sign that says, get your tests. There's a health, you know, at the health office. Then I'm okay with testing them. But my fear, obviously, as I've said too many times, I don't want anyone rejected from a club, from an activity, because they missed the test. They missed that one day that was on their campus. And that's all I have to say.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, you know, I shared some of the concerns, and I'm glad Trustee Lee Stuyer asked the question, because I think as a matter of practicality, you know, and I hope everybody will take advantage of the vaccines, and we do need to offer the testing on a very wide basis. And I hope that we will be flexible when we kind of figure out, well, we didn't cover this, that, and the other thing, that we will in fact take take steps to correct any gaps in the coverage or any inequities in the system that prevent students from actually getting a test. Now, on the other hand, we are trying to help them exercise responsibility in doing this, and in being responsible young adults. And if they want to do something, and we do a good job of disseminating this policy, I guess if I was a freshman going to that dance, the first thing on my list would not be my homework or my PSAT. It would be getting my test or getting my vax so I could get to that dance and and enjoy that first dance. So anyway, I think we need to take this step. I was sitting there getting my head twisted around with all the stats and with all the figures, and with now I'm worried about the composition of my 401k, but I'm probably more worried about it because I'm worried about retiring and having something in my account and not necessarily who knows what is in their individual 401k, because I think that would prevent us from taking action on contracts, action on who we hired, a bunch of things. So I believe, and it's been so long, Trustee Hanley, did you make the motion?
I did.
And Land seconded the motion. Trustee Andrade Zuniga, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Trustee Land?
I vote yes.
Trustee Lee Stuyer?
Okay. I will vote yes to test, and I want to report on where exactly all that testing is going to be available to all of these kids who are still kids, and that they're teenagers. They don't always get to where they're supposed to be on time. So, I will. It's a hesitant yes with that caveat that I want every child to have every opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, and we'll record that as a yes, and I'm sure the superintendent made copious notes, as they say. Trustee Hanley?
Yes.
I'll vote yes, and we have a 5-0 vote on this policy, and we anxiously await a report on it, on the implementation. Thank you. I mean, it was a arduous journey, and we're hardly there. I think we still got a lot of work to do. So, M2 summer school update.
Yeah, so this is an item, we have Mr. Ron Campana, who's going to lead us with the support of Mr. Brian Simmons. This is important work that we do to help students, particularly, I can't think of a summer more important than the last one in terms of getting students back, and we're proud of some of the work that we did here. And I think you'll appreciate this report. Ms. Chalkley, do we have Mr. Campana?
Mr. Simmons came in perfectly. I'm having a little trouble with Mr. Campana. I'm going to try one more time.
I can go ahead and get us started in the interest of time, and Mr. Campana will join us since he's taking up the bulk of it, but I'm going to kick this off. So good evening, Board President Griffin, board members and district cabinet. Mr. Campana and I will be giving an overview of our programs from this past summer, as well as the outcomes of those programs. We will conclude with a quick summary of our current thinking about the summer of 2022. I'm going to start the presentation now with a quick overview of our programs. Next slide, please. This slide is a nice overview of all the programs we administered this summer: traditional credit recovery summer school, which Mr. Campana is going to go into some detail about, a summer enrichment program, and some other programs intended to help with the transition of students to their next level of school, both our rising ninth graders and our graduated seniors. Next slide, please. On the superintendent's, so this first chunk I wanted to talk about was on the superintendent's prompting this last spring. We established a summer enrichment program across all of our sites. Our teachers stepped up across the district, and want to thank them, the 27 of them that did it, and voluntarily offered these different offerings, from students playing or singing music for the first time in person, some of them, since the spring of 2020, as well as computer programming, outings, lots of other kind of programs that are listed there. We had a total of 534 students participate in that program. It was really great. Next slide, please. In addition to the summer enrichment program, we also convened a slightly smaller in-person version of our annual Summer Bridge to Algebra program. That's a program we've had for many years in the district that supports our rising ninth graders with math skills. And honestly, as importantly, if not even more importantly, some orientation to their new campuses. We had that at the 4 sites listed there. Next slide, please. In addition to the support to our current students, our San Mateo Union High School District's college and career counselors, as well as our school counselors, work with approximately, so there's a team, a sort of subset team of them that worked with approximately 1,200 graduates from the class of 2021. It's kind of an amazing number to me, on topics related to successful matriculation into college. Our staff members troubleshot official record submissions, connected students with support staff at the 2-year and 4-year colleges that they were going to, and guided them through the course selection and registration process for their colleges. This is something that we have done for 2 summers, and we anticipate doing more of this. It was a little bit surprising to us, the number of students that needed this kind of support, but clearly it's a need for our graduates. Next slide, please. And my final portion of this presentation is related to the ELD summer program led by Dr. Showman and taught by dedicated ELD teachers and staff, as described on this slide. The program supported students to complete graduation requirements and also gave our English learners students some fun enrichment activities like swimming and other things that are listed there. I'm going to now pass the presentation off, I think, he's here, to Mr. Campana to describe the Credit Recovery Summer School program and the outcomes that program received. Next slide, and Mr. Campana.
Thank you, Mr. Simmons. Thank you, Board President Griffin, members of the board, and Dr. Skelly and District Cabinet. So really, summer school this year took on 3 parts. We finished up the old of last summer school where kids were incomplete in the previous school year. We worked with students this previous school year that were behind on credits. Then obviously we worked towards accelerating students, our English language learners who are still behind on their achievement towards accelerating and picking up language and skills quicker. Next slide. So one of the things that was unique this year is we again had mostly a Zoom model. We did try to offer as many classes as possible on campus for both students and staff. We took a poll. And so out of the poll, there was a total of 200 students that were interested in in-person classes. And what we found was only enough students were interested in English 3, which we held 2 courses, and then our PE courses, which we had in person as well. But most of them had about 3 kids per course, so we didn't do it. And there was a mild interest in teachers to teach students in person at the beginning of summer. Next slide. And so one of the things that's really important when you look at who's taking summer school and is always a concern is that we're still extremely high in our most underserved populations, which is again our Latinx or African American students and our Pacific Islanders. So we hope to change that in the next school year, particularly with summer school. But for now, those numbers are still largely disproportionate compared to the other numbers. Next slide. And so looking at our HUGs, historically underserved groups of students, you'll notice again that by and large, the numbers are relatively low for the most part, but the numbers where they spike is where you look at the reclassified flu and ELs, and you wonder why would they have a higher number than the English learners. And part of that is because once they get reclassified, there's that opportunity for them to not only graduate, but there's a lot more work for them to do. So the hard part is they make the strides in getting reclassified, but there's additional work. So that number is significantly higher than the others. Next slide. The other thing that's really important when you look at the schools is who's attending from which school. For the most part, it's pretty equal across the district, but the two groups that are kind of significant, you'll notice that Peninsula is only at 5%. Most of our students don't need summer school, and that's why that number is lower. And a lot of times they don't do well during summer. The other group that tends to be a little lower is Burlingame. So when you look at that 7%, there's many students that are taking enrichment courses that are coming out of that. So those are the two numbers that are a little bit lower, but by and large, it's the same throughout the district. Next slide. And so the biggest concern when we look at accelerated geometry, in years past, there had been requirements for a student to take accelerated geometry. This year, there was no requirements. Any student who wanted to take it could take it. However, when you look at the numbers, it's clear that certain groups aren't accessing the enrichment courses. And the question obviously comes to why. Next slide. And so when you look at this slide here, the biggest thing is you want to find out how many kids are on track at the end of the different time periods. And so the significant thing that this will tell you about this slide is that when you look at the 10th graders, there tends to be less concern, or at least the numbers don't come down as much as they do for particularly the students that are going into their senior year. So by and large, we tend to have a few more 11th graders that need to make up courses because they're not as close going towards the end. So this 10th graders, that creates a bigger track towards either continuation school, other formats. This year, which makes it unique when you look at that extreme off track, is with AB 104, more students have been able to stay on and be able to not have to go to continuation school and have the ability to graduate on time. Next slide. And so one of the things we tried to do is we tried to get student responses. And when you see only 72 responses, that's in part because we only had a little over about 100, 150 students, depending on the day they were coming to the school. And so we weren't really able to track all of the PE students, but the 72 was mostly the students that were coming outside of the PE classes. And so one of the things that comes across loud and clear is that they do like the shorter time frames of the classes, and they do like the 2.5 weeks. That is a pattern that we've used over the last couple of years. So that's nothing that is particularly new. As you can see, they did not want to go 5 weeks, as opposed, they rather do the 2.5 weeks per course. Next slide. And so the other thing that's always interesting too, and I was concerned when we went to more of a Zoom, because we figured there would be Zoom fatigue. A lot of the kids not only embraced it in the survey, they preferred it. And one of the things that was fascinating, 2 years ago when we did summer school, we had roughly 1,400 or 1,450 students that received credits or course credit. And this year that number was up by about 150 students. So we actually enrolled, pre-enrollment was in typical years 2,500. This year we had 2,300, and we ended up with roughly 200 more students that accessed the classes, and we didn't provide transportation. So we saved costs there, but there did seem to be a lot of concern on that part. Next slide. And so kind of going forward, the biggest thing that comes out of this is that students want to do the summer school, but they want to do it quick, and they want to do it before it takes too much of their summer. And so looking ahead, I'm going to speak to this a little bit later on. Most students would prefer to be able to complete their summer school classes prior to July 4th so they can have a good portion of July off. However, we did notice that with courses going through the 3rd week of July this year, there was not a significant drop off in the number of students that participated in our last session. Next slide. And so this slide here, we also felt it was important to get the staff feedback. And so a couple things I just kind of want to highlight that was a challenge. we didn't know how many students we were going to have in some courses where there are less, so we would combine year-long courses. And so when you have two groups of students in the same classroom, it does make it challenging to teach. The other part that I think that the teachers found really valuable is the ability to use both Canvas and combine with Zoom and to have a good structure where students were able to access it. And I think that also made it easier for the students because they were used to that during the previous school year. And then the last piece, which I think is significant, you look in the bottom right corner, is I think nobody would lie or feel that this is an inaccurate statement. When kids are in person, they do better as opposed to in Zoom. And so that's a continued challenge. I will say this was the first year we've done summer school that I can recall. We had almost entirely staffed by district teachers and employees. So that was a big plus for us. Next slide. And then kind of closing it out, kind of the big takeaways that, I think what we're looking at is how can we provide more enrichment opportunities? We want to take away that stigma that a student is being penalized if they're behind in school. This year, we really tried to do that. So we're looking as we go forward next year when kids have to make up classes that we're combining not just the ability to make it up, but take advancement courses and also try to combine equity courses. We were looking at different ways we can expand those opportunities. In addition, rewarding students for courses and doing well and having Friday activities. And so there's more to come. Meeting the deadline of July 4th is going to be a little bit of a challenge. Again, at the end of the day, it's what's best for students. But we may be going into about the second week of July. But the goal is to try to get as many students to access in many formats. We're probably looking at, for now, kind of a cross of some in-person instruction and some Zoom. We're going to look at it. I think the most amazing part is we had a great staff last year. It's hard to remember, but back at the beginning of June, right as we were starting summer school, 2 days before, you could only have 12 students in classrooms, and then it changed. And so that was a huge change. And if we knew that going in ahead of time, it might have changed the setup of how students responded in person. But bottom line, the staffs were great. And we had a great team of Joe Huddleston from Mills High School, Carrie Lorette, who's now a member of Hillsdale High School, Elaine Yaguna, who's a member of Peninsula, Fred Wolfgram, my assistant principal, and Nora Barrientos and Viliami Dawe, who helped out with health checks and so forth. But the system went fluid, and that's all for my presentation. And Brian's.
Thank you for the presentation. Gave us a good overview. I'm looking for hands. Boy, as soon as you put your hand up, you'll whiplash me all across the screen there, Trustee Hanley. Trustee Hanley, go ahead.
Thanks. Thanks. This was a good presentation. And, I like the kind of diverse programs that we ran in summer school. A couple of thoughts. I'm not sure it's a good idea to try to end summer school before July 4th. That seems to me to be awfully fast to try to compact, a lot of these courses into that short a period of time, and hope to, reasonably cover the material. I don't. What's your thinking on this right now? I mean, I saw the comment from the teacher that said, I can't remember exactly it was, but we're covering, 18 weeks and 13 days or something like that. But it seems like we're covering a lot, and in trying to do it in, if we're ending like May 31st with graduations, then trying to start summer school, right at the beginning of June and end it by July 4th seems like a very short period of time.
You want to respond? Well, I'll just quickly say, I think that this is credit recovery, right? So every student has been through this class before. So we're really trying to be judicious about what's the high leverage skills that students develop. And honestly, we had 3 sessions this summer. We had a week between the end of, no, we had 2 weeks between the end of school and the beginning of summer school. And so honestly, like the time itself, the number of days would be no different than any summer school that we've had in the last, I don't know, since I've been in the district. So for at least the last 6 summers. So we tend to have 13-day semester-long classes for 4 hours a day.
So you're just talking about, it's not applying to the accelerated geometry course?
No, it wouldn't. This was just credit recovery.
It's just credit recovery. Okay. So the other question I have is, can we track how well these students are doing after, how well are they doing in the fall after they've gone through summer? How are they doing the follow-on work? Do we track them and get an idea of how well the credit recovery worked, how well the preparation, the ELL course that they took in summer tracks with the next ELL course that they're taking in the fall? I'm trying to get an idea of how well the summer program is working in helping them advance in their high school trajectory.
So in general, like our tiered system of intervention, which we're in process on developing, but one of the markers is the students who are off track, right? And so one of the key intervention points that we are looking at in the fall, in August, all of our tier 2 intervention teams, is that those students who are extremely off track. So I will say, broadly speaking, from a strategic, do I have enough credits to graduate perspective, we are paying attention to those students and tracking them. Now, I will also just remind us all that many of our classes are not sequential, right? They are courses that you take in a subject area, with the exception of really math and language arts. All of our other subjects don't really you don't build on chemistry. I mean, there's elements of chemistry that are connected to biology or to physics, but they're really different classes, right? So the point is that I think in some cases, I think it's relevant to do that. And in other cases, I think it's not. But all I will say is we will give you, I think in a weekly, we could easily give you a report on kind of how is the summer school cohort doing this year? Because I think they are a particularly challenged group, and it would probably be useful for all of us to see how they're doing.
Yeah, I would very much like to see that. It would be very useful to me to get an idea, and I think it'd be useful. I'm assuming it'd be useful to you too.
Agreed.
Well, the one thing I would just add is that in about a week or two, Peninsula starts its second trimester, and we're looking at students. I anticipate a lower number of students needing our services than years past, but we're happy to give a board the update on where we are numbers statistically compared to previous year, because I feel like that's a big indication of where we are as far as how summer school's working and getting some of these students back on track. So I can provide that.
Thank you.
Trustee Andrade Zuniga.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I really appreciate all of the information that you presented. I have a question. What were the reasons why the students wanted to be on Zoom? And then also, in terms of wellness and in terms of issues in their lives that may have caused some issues or whatever reason why they need more credits. Do we have that type of follow-up throughout the summer school process like they do during the year? Are there people there that they can talk to? What type of interventions or supports are there in case, there's stuff going on at home? Summer is really tough because, people work and there's not a lot of supervision or whatever, there's a lot of stuff that goes on during the summer. But anyhow, anything that's linked up to why, the reasons why they're at the position they're in.
Brian, can I go ahead and jump in on this one? So the first thing is, I did mention we only had about 6 classes that met in person, but every student was provided the opportunity to come to the campus. And so all the teachers worked from the site. And so some students, when the teachers felt they were struggling academically or there was other concerns they could come, we also made it very clear early on that students could access mental health supports, and we had wellness counselors on our campus daily. And our staff in the main office put together this passport that students had to complete. And the idea of the passport, it was showing them how to access some of our wellness services and other pieces. And so it was one way to do a check-in. And we did have some students that would come for wellness on a regular basis. I think the other question you asked, which was how do we know why students wanted to be on Zoom? I don't think we got a very clear answer on that. Some of the answers that I received were convenience, didn't have to travel, could sleep in, and they were used to the routine. But I think that's also, to put us back, that was after a year of being on Zoom. I think if you ask that question now, with students being back for 2.5 months, and we gave those same students the question, I think you might get a different response.
Thank you.
Trustee Land. Trustee Land. Oh.
Okay. Well, first, thank you very much for the presentation. I think it was very enlightening, and I really appreciated the work you guys put in. For me, the conclusions were really the highlight for me. I like where we're heading for next time. I like the idea of the expansion and into different areas. I will agree with Trustee Hanley. I think it's important to see how they're doing and know the data about that. If you have kids who are struggling, how are they doing? And how was the impact? I don't know about pre and post assessments within the particular subject matter. Like how did they start and how did they end and what did they get out of it? That might be something worthwhile to look at for the viability of how it's working. I am a proponent of in-person. I think we need, just going back to your last slide, offering a variety of ways to do it would be nice. And if you could offer in-person as well as Zoom, I think that would be a good way to go. So offering, because it's different strokes for different folks. I mean, certain kids will get more out of it if they're in person than if it's on Zoom. And so anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
Trustees Lee Stuyer.
Okay. First, where's Brian Simmons? Brian, you present data so well, and I like it. I know sometimes you seem to go rather fast, but luckily I've read it ahead. And everyone has the ability to go on the agenda who attends these meetings and read it ahead. So it's not because you go fast, no one's losing anything. But I like your attitude. I will say, I just love the way you do it. Mr. Campagna, your enthusiasm for summer school is fabulous. And I just want to thank you for that, because you are such a fine principal at Peninsula High School. You do so much for that school. And then here you come in the summer and you devote your summer to these varied programs that are offered through summer school. And then you talk about it with the same enthusiasm and the same level of engagement. So you're kind of the ever ready principal whose battery is always on the recharger or something. But I just have such high respect for your work. I love the diversity of offerings that we're seeing in summer school now, and the summer melt, the ELD, the regular summer school, and approaching it like you had to this year with coming out of COVID, being able to mix some indoors with outdoors with Zoom had to be particularly challenging. So I kind of think you could do anything now, because once you've done this and successfully like you have, you can do anything. The one question I have is the summer bridge to 9th grade math. That to me is like such an important program. Greg is laughing. And I'm wondering if offering it in July, I see it's July 6th to July 30th. If we offered it closer in time when those little darlings get on 8th grade, would we have a higher attendance? Because I think we've had over the years, I've seen struggles with math with kids coming out of some of our school, our feeder districts. And if I'm just saying, would it be possible to offer that course earlier so that we might be able to attract more students That's my only
Yeah,
question, actually.
we will absolutely do it as soon as possible. We actually pushed it out to that window when we were still unclear on what was going to be possible. So we did it sort of as late as possible that also fit with the teacher schedules. I mean, we're navigating a lot of people's interests here. And so that was the reason for the July window. We normally do it. Like what we have to do is we have to wait, honestly, for San Mateo Foster City to finish school because they're last.
Okay.
Then we can start. And so, like, honestly, unfortunately, we have some schools at this among our partners who are finished like 2 weeks before that, right? So then it's this bummer that and in the south of the district, we have to kind of navigate those multiple districts that we have there. But anyway, totally agree. We want to catch them as quickly as possible before they run off to do whatever they're going to do for the summer. So we agree.
Yeah, and I think if we really need to sell that program to them. We have to somehow make it so those kids really, that is like the coolest place to be at a high school. Give a t-shirt.
Give a shout out.
You know?
A shout out to Deb Stuckey. She's led that program for many years. She's a teacher at Hillsdale. She's amazing. She is another ever Energizer bunny in the district. She's awesome. She's leading some really cool work up there now as well with their new geometry class in the 9th grade, which we'll come back to talk to you all about another time. But Deb is an amazing, and she she really leads the entire district in that program. So I want to just acknowledge Deb's really great work on the Summer Bridge program.
Thank you. Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. The only thing I'll add is I think Trustee Hanley's point was real important, that we do look at the students as they progress to make sure that their time spent in summer school was not for naught, so to speak. And that'll also tell us what we can do different in terms of the materials and the way we actually teach it. So thank you for the report. And this was for information. So we're going to move on to, looks like 01.
Yes, we have personnel actions and addendum for approval. No recommendation, no recognitions tonight.
I make a motion to approve the personnel items.
Okay. Is there a second?
A second.
Okay, Trustee Lamb with the motion, Trustee Hanley with the second. Trustee Andrade Zuniga, how do you vote?
Yes.
Trustee Lamb?
Yes.
Trustee Lee Stuyer?
Yes.
Trustee Hanley?
Yes.
I'll vote yes, and 01 will pass 5-0.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes, ma'am.
Every personnel action always has in the top the ones that are unbudgeted. I mean, you see that these positions are not budgeted. Could we get a report on, I don't know, maybe quarterly starting, that tells us how much we're spending in unbudgeted and these, for personnel, just so that we know? Because I would assume that some of these things need to be budgeted. So if we start really looking at what's unbudgeted and what we're doing, we might want to budget some of it for the next year. So that's kind of why I'm looking at it. Is that possible?
Seems to be a good question to me. So I will look for a response in our Friday report on feasibility on that.
Thank you.
Okay, 02, review, discuss, and approve the revised job description.
Yes, we currently have this job, the district receptionist and HR technician, but at the last meeting, the board approved the athletic coordinator position, and with that, took some of the duties in our current district receptionist and HR technician position that had to do with coaching, clearing coaching, as what you saw in the personnel actions addendum. So therefore, we replaced the athletic related duties with duties that will assist the communications department, the superintendent's office, student services, help with the website, and other such, the career centers, those type of things, when there's some downtime at the front desk.
Anyone have any questions on the revised
They could do
job?
COVID testing. Okay.
Okay. Anybody have any questions or
I move
comments?
approval.
Thank you.
Second.
So we got trustees Lee Stuyer with the motion, trustee Land with the second, trustee Andrade Zuniga. How do you vote?
Yes.
Trustee Land?
Yes.
Trustee Lee Stuyer?
Yes.
Trustee Hanley?
Yes.
I'll vote yes, and O2 will pass 5-0. O3, review, discuss, and approve job description for the new stipend position in post high school matriculation, sorry, advisor.
Right, and now you heard the summer school and we
Kidding,
talked
Larry.
about math. This is a position that assists graduating seniors with help going on to college, specifically around math.
And this is, can I ask a question?
Yes, Brian Simmons is here to answer some of these questions.
May I ask a question, Mr. Griffin?
Yes, yes, sorry.
So these are stipends. So an existing employee would take on this additional duty.
Right.
And so what type of existing employee would be doing this work?
It's our college
Like a
and career.
classified person or a counselor?
So it's either, it was the summer melt program that we were talking about previously in the last presentation. So it's either kind of person.
Okay, that's perfect. That's all I needed to know. I move approval.
Second.
Okay, trustee Lee Stuyer with the motion, trustee Land with the second, trustee Andrade Zuniga, how do you vote? Trustee Land?
Yes.
Trustee Lee Stuyer? Was that yes? I didn't hear anything.
Something's going on, Bob, with your mic. We can hear, we can't hear you all the time. So just so you know.
You can hear me?
Well, you go in and out. It sounds really quiet and then really loud. I'm like, whoa, okay. So I think she heard you.
Yeah, my mic is up as high as it'll go.
It's the internet. It's the internet.
Okay, I didn't hear trustee Lee Stuyer, but I
yes.
take it. Okay, trustee Hanley?
Yes.
I'll vote yes, and that's 5-0. Apologize for my mic. I didn't realize I was having problems. 04, approve the 20, 22, 23, and 23, 24 school calendars.
Yes, these are our annual school calendars. We worked with our Teachers Association to get these through. They may have some questions on the 23, 24, but pretty much they're okay with both of these, especially the 22, 23 calendar, which is very, very similar to this year's, give a day or so on each end.
I thought my question is, it seemed like it started really early this year. It's going to start early next year. August.
Yes, for this year, it's similar to this year.
Okay. It was just a question.
Other questions? Is there a motion?
I move approval.
Okay, trustees Lee Stuyer with the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, trustee Andrade Zuniga with the second. Trustee Andrade Zuniga?
Yes.
How do you vote?
Yes.
That was a yes, I take it. Trustee Land?
Yes.
Okay, trustee Lee Stuyer?
Yes.
Trustee Hanley?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. And calendars pass 5-0. And board operations, S1. The specific board policies, everybody get a chance to review them?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Any questions? Yeah, trustee.
Yeah, I had one question. One question. Let me find it. On I think it was page 25 of the policies where the changes are showing.
Which policy is it?
COVID mitigation plan?
It's the professional staff development.
Okay.
Staff development.
4131. Board policy 4131. Okay. Go ahead.
And there's a section 4, and it says sensitivity to and ability to meet the needs of diverse student populations, including but not limiting to students with characteristics specified in Education Code 200 and/or 220, Government Code 11135, and Penal Code 422.55. You know, like, can't we like define those? I mean, anyone reading those, I mean, I didn't go to those codes to look up who those students are. I mean, it seems like we should like spell out who those students are.
Okay. There people saw it's the discrimination based on disability, gender identity, sex, gender expression, nationality, ethnicity. So yeah, we can verbalize Ed Code 220. Yes.
Yeah, because otherwise, like, I don't know who those. I mean, I've been around for a long time, and I don't know those codes right off the top of my head.
No, I just looked it up. That's all the reason I knew. So
I think that's a good idea, Peter. That's a really good idea, because then the language means something. Otherwise, it just puts you somewhere else that you're going to have to look up.
Yeah, otherwise you're going to have to copy them and go to Google and Google all those codes.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is so much fun. Yeah. Good idea.
Okay, so we can make that change, and then they'll return on the consent. And then if we see any issues, then we can pull it and discuss it. You know, one thing in accounting that quickly is we have white papers, because accountants will write so much technical language that a lot of times you write it in plain English. They call it a white paper so that it's comprehensible by, you know, normal people. And that kind of a policy would help us, except for the fact that to translate a law into a white paper would probably screw something up, and we'd probably regret trying to be accused of reinterpreting. But
That's
anyway,
true.
we'll get through this, and we'll bring those back at the next meeting.
Sorry, to Trustee Griffin, I have some questions.
Yeah. Yes.
Under the suicide prevention policy, I just wanted to clarify what the definition of what it meant to say consulting with law enforcement, and they had a lot of consulting with different people within, I guess, an incident like that. If you could just clarify, like, what would that entail? When it comes to something like that, it's really sensitive. So I just want to know at what point law enforcement would be called in.
Can I recommend that I follow up with April Torres and get some answers back for you? I think
I have several questions around just definitions of things within the policy, and even with search and seizure as well. So yeah, I'd like to work with, maybe we can, if it's, if I could get some answers, I can type them up and send them over to to Dr. Black, and to you, Dr. Skelly, and then, there are some things that I want to clarify.
Perfect. Yep.
Thank you.
So on that, are we going to bring the balance forward and wait for the discussion on that? Or are we going to schedule everything to be brought forward? You'll communicate all those questions and answers to everyone on the board.
Yeah, we'll do that, and then we'll bring it back either on consent or as action items based on our conversations with Trustee Zuniga.
Move on. Looks like we're down to item T, requested board items.
I'm pleased to say we knocked out 3 of them tonight, I think. So the list got smaller tonight, and we'll be back with the Italian discussion next board meeting.
So I want to add in a request for to go further on vaccine mandates. I think we need to discuss having vaccine mandates for the spring semester. I mean, I think our first obligation, which we've said, right from the start, is that we want to maximize the safety of our schools. And, we can do that. And right now we've got over 1,100 unvaccinated students in our schools. And we got at least one school where it's about 1 in 4 students is unvaccinated. And I find that unacceptable. And we know that these vaccines are safe and effective. We know that one of them's been fully approved for 16 and over. I expect that the others, they're going to be approved for 12 to 15 very shortly. But we have the capacity to be leaders in this. We need to be leaders in this. We can be the leaders in the county to take this forward, and I think we need to do it. We are never gonna get masks out of schools until we get everybody vaccinated in schools. We are never gonna get schools fully back to normal operations until we get people vaccinated. And if we had a polio epidemic, a diphtheria epidemic, even a measles epidemic rampant in our community, we wouldn't be hesitating to insist that everybody was vaccinated. And I think, that's just for the schools, but I think moreover, our constituency more broadly in the community is really looking to elected leaders to get us out of this. I just think, public education can play a really key role in moving the community forward towards that 80% level that public health says is really critical to getting the mask mandate removed from the rest of the sector of society. I mean, if we can get kids and students, mandated to be vaccinated, that moves the full percentage of population that is fully vaccinated up a significant degree. And I just think, people have been suffering under this pandemic for 18 months at least. And I just think the damage to the economy, the damage to our physical and mental health has just been enormous. And I think we have the capacity to show leadership here, and we should take it. And I'm flexible on the date. It doesn't have to be January 1st. I'd like it to be January 1st, but I'm flexible on when we move it forward. But I think we need to mandate that students are vaccinated, and everybody in the district is vaccinated. Public education has required vaccinations in California for 120 years. I want it on the agenda. I want to have a conversation about it.
Can I just add to that?
Yeah, but I'm going left to right and trustee.
No, I know, but mine's relevant to what Peter's saying.
Okay.
Well, yeah, and then mine isn't till later. I just wanted to put something else on that.
Okay, so I don't disagree. I think bringing it up is important, but I also would like to know, since now that we're increasing vaccinations to all aged school children from 5 up, I'm wondering because I know the governor has talked about this, about vaccinations. I'd like to know, as part of that report that we're doing, or suggestion, I'd like to know what they're doing as well, or what they're going to recommend. Because I don't want contradictions. I want to know what's coming up with what the governor proposal will be for education.
Well, we keep talking this, and we'll talk it into an agenda item. So we have a request, and that is where that will stop. Hopefully the administration understands the point we're trying to communicate. Trustee Andrade Zuniga.
I wanted to make sure that the BLM item was still going to be on the agenda at some point. It's important.
So
Yeah, it's not going anywhere. I can guarantee
I just
that.
wanted to make sure of that.
Guarantee it, as that guy used to say.
So just so staff is clear, well, maybe Ms. Dwyer speak for me.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry.
Trustee Lee Stuyer.
I would ask that before the Peter's agenda item gets put on in January or February. Can you hear me? Okay. I would ask that before Peter's agenda item gets put on in January or February, you get a legal opinion as to whether we have the legal right to mandate adults vaccinating their children. So I would like to make sure that it's feasible at all before we spend any time on it. Thank you.
Luann, is your hand still up or you just, okay.
So
staff. I think the governor's already said school districts can go ahead. Some school districts are going ahead. I don't think the legal issue is, we need to spend a whole lot of time on the legal issue.
I know if the governor said that, it must have been like today, because I haven't seen that. And I did not read the papers today because I haven't had time.
I think the agenda items on the meeting have been debated and discussed. It's been a pleasant meeting. It's positive, productive, and good night to all.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night. Going to my garage to look for Halloween costumes. See ya.